The story kicks off with Ying Tao's lively outing with her three friends. While the group was frolicking in nature, a snake suddenly appeared, horrifying Ying Tao. In her mind, fear piled up as she thought the snake would lunge straight at her. That small incident became a deep wound in her heart, causing Ying Tao to panic and run around, screaming as if the world had just collapsed. Also in that moment, Qiao Shi, a math genius, was following his father back to the Kunshan area and happened to see a girl in a red dress who would fall every few steps she took. That image was imprinted in his mind like a special piece of the puzzle, suddenly appearing in his dry world. Ying Tao was inherently mischievous and quick-witted, not afraid to play tricks, so her friends would carry her to sneak through the window, just to secretly steal books for Fang Yuan. Once inside, she quietly checked to see if anyone was there and then planned to take the book. But unexpectedly, she ran into Qiao. She's standing straight, silently watching her and even waving. Caught red-handed, Ying Tao immediately shouted for her friends to run away. After that, she frantically told her mother, "What if someone wants to take me to a strange place?" Her mother just laughed and reassured her that no one would do that. Just then, Ying Tao's father returned, even inviting Qiao Shi and his father to the house for dinner. As soon as Ying Tao saw Qiao Shi appear, her face turned pale. During the meal, she only dared to steal glances at him with fearful eyes. When Qiao Shi needed to study, Ying Tao led him into her room, trying to bribe him in various ways, hoping he wouldn't bring up the stolen book incident. But Qiao Shi just quietly focused on his books. One day, while intently admiring a shirt she liked, Qiao Shi suddenly saw Ying Tao lovingly petting a small rabbit named Chun Lu. Suddenly, a strong gust of wind swept through, causing the clothes-drying rack to collapse. Qiao Shi didn't hesitate, rushing forward to shield the tiny rabbit with his body. Witnessing that action, Ying Tao was touched and decided to teach Qiao Shi how to pet and hold a rabbit. From that simple moment, an invisible thread connected the two children. From then on, Qiao Shi became Ying Tao's classmate and neighbor. He was reclusive, quiet, and carried loneliness within him due to a family lacking love and affection, with parents often away from home and indifferent to their child. Meanwhile, Ying Tao was spoiled, mischievous, and always came up with all sorts of tricks, including stealing books. Once, the teacher discovered in her diary that she wrote that she was about to die. Worried, the teacher hurriedly went to Ying Tao's parents to ask about it. Everyone panicked, but then couldn't help but laugh when they found out the reason. Ying Tao thought that if she encountered a snake that jumped higher than her, it meant that death was approaching. During a meal between the two families, Ying Tao innocently asked Uncle Jiang what the name Qiao Shi meant. Uncle Jiang just smiled and said that when he was born, he couldn't think of a name, and when it came time to make the birth certificate, he saw the sentence thousands of households, Qiao Shi in the newspaper, so he just randomly chose that name. Hearing that, Qiao Shi was silent. He felt sad because he clearly felt that his father had never truly cared about or cherished him, and even the name was just a random choice, without any meaning. That night, Ying Tao couldn't sleep. Through the wall, she overheard her parents talking and discovered a truth that stunned her. It turned out that the Jiang family used to have a child named Meng Shuo, a prodigy who entered the youth program at the Chinese Academy of Sciences at the age of 13. That name was the result of months of contemplation and thought. But when Meng Shuo passed away, his parents were so grief-stricken that they almost divorced. At that time, their superiors advised them to have another child to ease the conflict, and that's how Qiao Shi was born. A child who was expected to bring hope, but who was then forgotten in indifference. Even though he was 9 years old and excelled in his studies, he was still neglected. Feeling sorry for her friend, that night, Ying Tao quietly turned on her flashlight and looked up the meaning of the name Qiao Shi in the dictionary. The next morning, despite the rain, she dragged Qiao Shi up a high peak in Kunshan. On the slippery road, she told him that Qiao meant a high and sharp mountain peak, and she meant west. Qiao Shi was the highest peak west of Kunshan, where, at sunset, you could see the breathtakingly beautiful afterglow. Even though it was raining today, and they couldn't see the red afterglow, the true meaning of the name he once hated was now different in Qiao Shi's heart. And for the first time, he felt something called care from the girl in the red dress who had entered his life with that innocence and warmth. Suddenly, the sky cleared, the clouds parted, and the sunset glow actually appeared, so brilliant that everything seemed to be dyed a magical red. In that scene, Qiao Shi, for the first time in his life, felt the true beauty hidden in his name. And that beauty became even more complete with Ying Tao as his companion. Approaching his birthday, his father gave Qiao Shi a watch. But as usual, the watch was black. Throughout the years, it seemed that the shadow of his deceased older brother, Meng Shuo, always weighed heavily on the boy. Every item that his parents bought for Qiao Shi was only a cold black color, even when he had never liked that color. Then his father made the excuse that he was busy with work, saying that his mother would take him back to the city the day after tomorrow. In an unnamed sadness, Xiaoxi went outside to get some fresh air, unexpectedly running into Ying Tao and his classmates who were throwing him a birthday party. Everyone was dressed in black. Even the bouquet of flowers and the birthday cake were dyed black. Ying Tao, with all her innocence and sincerity, thought that if you like someone, you should love their true personality. Because she saw that Xiaoxi always wore black, from his clothes to his belongings to his books, she thought he really liked that color. Before the heart of his friends, Xiaoxi smiled, saying that he really liked this birthday party. In his heart, it was the warmest and most beautiful memory he had ever had. When it was just the two of them, Xiaoxi quietly told Ying Tao the truth that he didn't really like black, but the one who used to love that color was his older brother, Meng Shu. Since he was little, he had been forced by his parents to accept things that didn't belong to him, including the color. He believed that they would never love his true self. But from this moment on, he began to accept that black was no longer a compulsion, but because there was a beautiful memory associated with it. After listening, Ying Tao told Xiaoxi to try to think of another color, and then he would slowly like it in his own way. When Xiaoxi said that he wanted to love red later, she promised that on her next birthday, she would make a wish, hoping that Xiaoxi's parents could love him for his true personality. When asked about her wish, Ying Tao didn't hesitate to say that she hoped everyone would be together forever, without separation. The next morning, Xiaoxi's mother returned to pack up, preparing to take her son to live in the city for a long time. Ying Tao brought meat buns as a gift, but the mother criticized them, not wanting her son to accept the gift because she didn't know what kind of meat they were made of. The little girl sadly hugged the buns and went back, then suddenly heard her parents talking about Xiaoxi moving away. A sense of loss overwhelmed her, and Ying Tao burst into tears. She ran to find Xiaoxi, her heart filled with questions. Why did he promise to come back after winter break? But now he's leaving without a word of goodbye. The next morning, she and her friends ran up the high slope, which used to be the meeting place for so many memories. Under the early morning sky, they said in unison, Xiaoxi, remember to write letters. You must keep your promise. Ying Tao shouted, telling him to wait for her after the winter break. She would definitely come back. However, time waits for no one. Each day passed quietly, and then the years quietly stretched out. 5 years have passed since that farewell day, and Ying Tao and Xiaoxi have not met again. But in her heart, the image of her quiet friend with a warm smile is still intact. She always remembers Xiaoxi as if a part of her childhood has never disappeared. On a school day like any other, Ying Tao quietly wrote a handwritten letter to Xiaoxi. However, that action was quickly discovered by the teacher. The next day, her mother was invited to school to talk. Contrary to everyone's expectations, the mother did not blame her daughter. She just gently said that if her daughter wanted to write letters, she should write them at home because writing letters was not wrong, but doing it during class affected the management and order of the classroom. She understood that her daughter still carried the memory of her childhood friendship with Xiaoxi and also understood the loneliness that Ying Tao was trying to hide. In Kunshan, close friends from the past, Yi-Yun, Xiao Du, Fang Yuan, and even Xiaoxi had all left to study at Jolin Experimental High School. Alone, even trying to appear strong, how could the mother's perceptive eyes not recognize the emptiness in her daughter's heart? She hoped that Ying Tao would not lock herself in the past, but move forward with a more positive inner self. Hearing her mother's words, Ying Tao could only quietly lower her head, carrying a painful question in her heart. If someone can completely let go of the past, does that mean their present is good enough? That evening, she carefully decorated the handwritten letter to Xiaoxi. In it, she wanted to tell him a sad story, that the little rabbit Chun Lu that they used to love had died. That made her even more eager to share with her old friend. The next morning, as she was getting ready for school, the landline suddenly rang. Ying Tao hurriedly picked up the phone, her heart pounding, thinking that it was Xiaoxi calling. But on the other end of the line was Yi-Yun's voice, coldly questioning whether she had written a very long letter to Xiaoxi. Before Ying Tao could answer, Yi-Yun stated bluntly that she shouldn't contact Xiaoxi anymore. She was shocked and didn't understand what was happening. Meanwhile, from a distance, Xiao Du spoke up, telling Yi-Yun to tell her the truth. Hearing that, Ying Tao's heart tightened. She hurriedly asked what exactly was going on. Ying Tao called back several times, but no one answered. Her heart was in turmoil, and she was extremely confused. In class, the notebook that she was preparing to send to Xiaoxi was being snatched around by some friends. Unable to bear it anymore, she decided to take a bus all the way to Jolin Experimental High School to meet him. On the journey, the bus shook, making her feel nauseous. Fortunately, a kind person gave her a tangerine peel to reduce the nausea. When she arrived, she continued to take a bus to Xiaoxi's school. But as soon as she set foot on the school gate, she heard people gossiping. Xiaoxi used to study in Kunshan. He used to receive letters from a girl, but the correspondence made him uncomfortable. In the classroom, Xiao Du and Lin Ge were even fighting over that notebook. The unease grew greater. Because she wasn't wearing a uniform, she stood out among the students, and all eyes were on her, as if they were looking at a strange creature. From the high floor, looking down at the schoolyard being dismissed, she saw her 4 old friends walking out of the gate. She loudly called Xiao Du, but because of the distance, no one could hear her. Only Fang Yuan felt that the voice just now sounded very much like Ying Tao, but Xiao Du and Du Shang immediately dismissed it, saying that he misheard, because how could Ying Tao be here? In another corner, Lin Ge noticed the strange girl not wearing a uniform and asked her if she was a student at this school. When he found out that she studied at number 11 high school, he guessed right away that she had come to find Xiao Shi. The female friends heard it and swarmed around asking, "Are you really Ying Tao? What exactly is the relationship between you and Xiao Shi? You sent a letter and still came all the way here." Just then, Xiao Shi walked over. Ying Tao was nervous, at first only daring to look at his shadow, and then looked straight up. She thought this meeting would be a joyful, emotional moment after 5 years of separation, but the reality was too cruel. Xiao Shi coldly replied that he didn't know her. That sentence was like a knife cutting deep into Ying Tao's heart. She stood still, her whole body trembling, sweat soaking her back. The shock made her choke up, cough violently, and tears flowed uncontrollably. In a state of confusion, she climbed onto the railing, a very dangerous action. Fortunately, a woman passing by thought that she was intending to do something foolish and immediately came to stop her. She scolded her fiercely, thinking that she was arguing with relatives or was upset about family matters. Those scoldings were like pulling Ying Tao back to reality. The kind woman then took her to a place with beautiful scenery to relax her mind, hoping that she would soon overcome the pain in her heart. But deepening Tao's heart, the reverberations from that cold denial, "I don't know her," were etched like a scar, not easily erased. A little later, Xiao Shi became worried and searched everywhere for Ying Tao, but couldn't find her anywhere. His eyes became heavy. In his heart, Xiao Shi actually felt happy knowing that Ying Tao had traveled so far just to see him. However, because of the strict control from his mother, he never had the freedom to contact any girls, causing himself to be imprisoned in an invisible cage. As he was about to leave, Xiao Man hurriedly ran over to inform him that his mother had just called to say that she would pick him up and take him home. At that very moment, a sudden call rang out. A woman was luring a little girl to see something interesting. Recognizing that it was the voice of someone both strange and familiar, Xiao Shi realized that Ying Tao had not yet left the school. At that time, Ying Tao was trying to meet Yu Xiao to ask about everything. She said that today she had heard too many rumors about Xiao Shi, and her heart was in turmoil. She wanted to know the truth from her old friend. Yu Xiao didn't hide anything, only saying that it was best for Ying Tao to forget Xiao Shi because he was no longer the person everyone used to be close to. Since moving to the city, Xiao Shi seemed to have closed himself off, as if he had never shared memories with the group of friends from childhood. That's why every time Ying Tao asked about his situation, Yian didn't allow anyone to tell her, fearing that these things would make her sad. As for the letter that Ying Tao sent, it turned out that it was passed around by Lin Ge, who is currently a close friend of Xiao Shi. Hearing that, Ying Tao couldn't help but say that she had met Xiao Shi today, even though he was much taller than before. With just one look, she recognized him immediately. Yet in front of everyone, he said that he didn't know her at all. She couldn't understand why Xiao Shi had changed so much. Yu Xiao could only gently advise her to see it, as if the city had swallowed him up. Then the two of them went together to Yu Xiao's house. On the way, Ying Tao happened to see Xiao Shi walking with Xiao Man. She immediately asked her friend, "Where are those two going?" Yu Xiao just replied indifferently that she didn't know, only knowing that the female student was Xiao Man, the class beauty, good at studies, and always ranked second after Xiao Shi. As for the relationship between the two, Yu Xiao didn't know, because now Xiao Shi only made friends with people who were good at studies. Ying Tao immediately suspected that the fact that her letter was spread around might be related to Xiao Man. But Yu Xiao didn't know anything else, and just silently led her home. At Yu Xiao's house, she was reunited with Fang Yuan and Du Shang. Only Yun was busy helping her father arrange goods, so she didn't come, only sending clothes through Fang Yuan for Ying Tao to change. The four of them sat and reminisced about the old days, talking and laughing heartily. The warm atmosphere seemed to erase some of the gloom in her heart. At that very moment, Ying Tao's parents arrived. As soon as she saw them, she immediately ran into her mother's arms, bursting into tears. Without blaming her, the mother just gently reminded her daughter that if she goes anywhere in the future, remember to tell them in advance. After that, the three friends took her to a very special place, a secret corner reminiscent of childhood. As she stepped through the gate, Ying Tao was stunned to see the scenery before her, no different from the memories of childhood, where all five used to play together. The lake was still calm. The swans were still pure white and beautiful. All of it made her so emotional that tears fell. Then the group played chase again as if there had never been years of separation. After the fun ended, Ying Tao happily ran out to open the gate when she unexpectedly ran into Qiao Shi. She immediately asked coldly, "Why did you come here?" Qiao Shi explained that Yi Yun said that the friends were here, so he came to find them. But at this point, Ying Tao could no longer remain calm. She smiled faintly and replied with the very words he had used in front of everyone, that the two of them didn't know each other. But before her questioning, Qiao Shi could only explain that at that time, he didn't know what else to do, feeling that refusing to acknowledge her was the only way to protect her from being hurt, from falling into the line of fire. But Ying Tao didn't accept that explanation. She said that he could have chosen a different way, just saying that the two of them used to be friends, that the letter wasn't a love letter, that Chun Lu was just a rabbit, or at least when standing in front of other people, he could have skillfully avoided it instead of coldly denying her. Qiao Shi could only remain silent, nodding slightly in acknowledgement. Too disappointed, Ying Tao angrily turned around and ran inside, leaving him standing there alone. That night, she couldn't fall asleep because her mood was in turmoil. Finally, she quietly left the house, walking and picking up small stones, throwing them straight at Qiao Shi's window as a way to vent her anger. But when she turned back, her heart seemed to suffocate because at that moment, Qiao Shi had been standing there for who knows how long, silently looking at her with eyes that were unclear whether they were remorseful or earnest. Ying Tao once sent Qiao Shi a notebook, not because she wanted to confess her feelings, and even less did it carry the implication of love. In that notebook, from beginning to end, the 4 words "I like you so much" didn't appear. It was just a handwritten book containing memories, sentiments of remembrance. She wrote it when Chun Lu, the little rabbit that Qiao Shi once adopted like a daughter, passed away. Ying Tao wanted to announce that passing, wanted to recount some stories about Kunshan, the village that the little rabbit Qiao Shi once loved so much that he couldn't bear to leave. The notebook was a farewell to childhood, nothing more. In cold and rational words, Ying Tao wanted to put an end to the connection between her and Qiao Shi. She made it clear that moving to study at Jialan Experimental High School was a personal decision, not related to him. All she needed was her friends, not the presence of someone who used to stand behind her and then suddenly deny all memories. Qiao, she just quietly accepted it. He didn't try to hold her back, nor did he explain, just one word of acceptance, and then watched Ying Tao's figure gradually disappear, a sad look in his eyes, the resentment clearly visible on his face. When he turned away, he directed his gaze, filled with dissatisfaction, towards the mother who always controlled his every step. Returning to his room, Qiao Shi quietly took out the notebook, the thing that his friends used to snatch, tear, and treat like a joke. But to him, it was a priceless memento. He caressed each page as if wanting to preserve the only thing left from a pure feeling that not everyone understood. On Ying Tao's side, Qiao Shi's indifferent words were like a strong blow to her soul. She was angry, sad, and also determined. From then on, she devoted all her efforts to studying. Ceaseless effort helped her achieve outstanding results, enough to pass the entrance exam to experimental high school, which was considered the top goal of many outstanding students. The whole family joined her in packing their luggage and moving to Jialan to start a new life. The new house was located near the area of her old friends, which made Ying Tao extremely happy. On her first day there, her 3 close friends took her all over the city, introducing her to the lively entertainment spots. While she was standing and gazing at the lake, the 3 left to buy food. Not seeing them, she panicked, thinking she was lost, and hurriedly took out her phone to call. Then a call rang out, making her feel relieved. The 3 friends ran back, deliberately teasing her by kneeling down to offer food as an apology, making her unable to help but laugh. The 4 of them walked around together, laughing loudly. Suddenly, the first rain in Jialan came. Under that rain, Ying Tao felt pure joy, a sense of security being with her friends from the old days, and the happiness of having companions. She called out each person's name as if to affirm to herself that this was reality, not a dream. 5 years of living alone in Kunshan made her understand the value of such simple moments. From the window, Qiao Shi quietly looked down, seeing Ying Tao happily playing in the rain with her group of friends. In his heart surged a desire to step out of the cage that his mother had built around him. But he could only stand there, watching helplessly. The opening day also arrived. Although she ranked 47th in the entire school in the entrance exam, Ying Tao was still worried about which class she would be assigned to. The friends squeezed into the crowd to see the class list and announced that she was in Class 18, the science track, with Yu Xiao and Du Shan. Yi Yin was in Class 4, the humanities track, while Fang Yuan was in Class 17, the science track, only 1 class away, so they could still meet after school. Ying Tao also secretly squeezed into the list, not to check her achievements, but to see if she would be in the same class as Qiao Shi. When she saw his name on the list of Class 18, the emotions in her were mixed. It was unclear whether it was joy, awkwardness, or anxiety. On Xiaoxi's side, when he ran to the list and saw Ying Tao's name, his heart seemed to want to jump out of his chest. The emotions were overwhelming, happiness and confusion mixed together to the point that it was difficult to describe. The father smiled when he saw his son hurrying back, saying that with such achievements, entering the provincial Olympic team was a certainty. The principal valued him very much, but that joy didn't move Xiaoxi as much as being in the same class as Ying Tao. That evening, the Xiaoxi family organized a congratulatory party in a restaurant. The father not only wanted to congratulate his son on joining the provincial team, but also wanted to celebrate Ying Tao passing the entrance exam to #1 experimental high school. When he saw Ying Tao arrive, she couldn't hide his joy. Moreover, his father arranged for the two of them to sit at the same table, which made his heart beat rapidly. In the intimate atmosphere, everyone started recalling childhood memories. People talked about the two children who were always side by side in the old days, sometimes Ying Tao following Xiaoxi, sometimes the other way around. Once, little Ying Tao even ran to ask for fried shrimp cakes just to bring them to her little friend. Hearing those words, Xiaoxi couldn't help but smile, while Ying Tao blushed slightly, but still comfortably peeled crab for him, as if there was no distance between the two. During a quiet moment in the restroom, she lingered near Ying Tao, as if wanting to find an opportunity to start a conversation. However, when she suddenly turned her head, her forehead bumped into his chin. That day, after the party, the Xiaoxi family brought a portion of fish ordered from the restaurant to the Yiyan family. Yiyan's father had a sore leg, so he couldn't attend, and he wanted to make up for their share as a way of showing concern. Meanwhile, Ying Tao went to Yiyan's room. Carrying a mood filled with frustration, she blamed her friend for not telling her about Xiaoxi's current situation sooner, so that by the time everything fell apart, she became the only one who didn't know, like a fool. The letter that Yiyan once advised her to write had now become the reason why everything was even more messed up. Yiyan calmly accepted that anger. She didn't blame her, only gently reminding that if she needed to vent her anger, she should vent on the person who made her angry, not torture herself. But Ying Tao still held the intention of never forgiving Xiaoxi. The first day of official school began. In the class introduction, when the teacher asked the students to introduce themselves, Ying Tao stood up, used the new name Qi Lu, and introduced herself as coming from #11 high school in Kunshan. Ying Tao was assigned to sit next to the class president, coincidentally also named Qi Lu. During the English class, when it came to the dialogue practice, the teacher chose her and Xiaoxi as a pair. When it came time to ask questions, Ying Tao asked about the most precious memory in the other person's heart. Xiaoxi didn't hesitate to share about a memory when he was little, the moment he climbed a mountain with a friend to see the brilliant sunset, where that friend explained the meaning of his name. The story was honest, not roundabout, enough to move anyone who had witnessed those innocent years. Ying Tao heard every word clearly, understood every sentence thoroughly. But when the teacher asked, she just gently shook her head, pretending not to understand. The teacher thought it was true and said that it was okay. Xiaoxi's English level was very high, so not understanding was easy to sympathize with. Xiaoxi wasn't flustered, still calmly translating for the whole class to hear, as if nothing had happened. During the break, while getting water, Yiyan went with Ying Tao. From a distance, she caught sight of Xiaoman, another student, talking to Xiaoxi. Xiaoman was curious and asked about the person mentioned in the English class just now, and Xiaoxi only answered briefly that it was a very important person. Immediately afterwards, Xiaoxi deliberately approached Ying Tao with a simple request. He pretended to forget to recharge his water card, using that as a reason to ask to borrow the card from her. She kept her distance, asking back in a cold voice whether the two of them were close enough to do that. From Ying Tao's cold attitude towards Xiaoxi, Xiaoman began to suspect that there was something hidden. She recalled the incident where Lin Gu mistakenly delivered the letter. That could be the reason why Ying Tao misunderstood Xiaoxi and developed animosity. To clear up the misunderstanding, Xiaoman suggested that Lin Gu apologize seriously. Later, Lin Gu agreed and asked Ying Tao to come to the hallway with the hope of clarifying everything. While apologizing, he blurted out words that went too far, implying that Ying Tao hated not only him but also Xiaoxi. When he saw Ying Tao intending to leave, Lin Gu still clung to her, complaining that both of them were victims and they shouldn't put all the blame on Xiaoxi. Unable to restrain himself, he uttered harsh, sarcastic words, insulting even the letter that Ying Tao had written to Xiaoxi, calling it something disgusting that doesn't know its own limits. Those words were like a sharp knife, which made Yu Xiao, who was passing by, unable to ignore it. Lin Gu angrily intended to rush and hit back, but was immediately stopped by Ying Tao, who delivered a strong kick to his leg, causing him to back away. Before they could drag each other to the disciplinary office, Another student ran in breathlessly to report that Qi Lu had just hit someone. This news stunned the whole group, and Xiao Shi was even more surprised and worried, immediately going to find Lin Gu to clarify everything. After learning that Lin Gu had uttered insults towards Ying Tao, Xiao Shi couldn't hide his disappointment, decisively requesting that Lin Gu never interfere in his personal affairs, especially those related to Qi Lu. He wanted to be friends with Ying Tao as before, but not by trampling on the dignity of others. On the weekend, Xiao Shi and his group of friends invited each other to the aquarium. In the shimmering light, they gazed at the jellyfish floating like lost lights in the heart of the sea. That image reminded Ying Tao of childhood memories, the promise she made with Xiao Shi years ago that they would go to the aquarium one day. While everyone was sitting and watching the dolphin show, Lin Ji's group and Xiao Man happened to see Ying Tao's group and secretly took some pictures. That night, when Yu Xiao returned home, he was called into the living room by his father. With a serious face, he asked straight out whether his son was dating early, whether he liked any girl. He advised him to use his personality and talent to move others, instead of finding the answer to his feelings in the phone. Yu Xiao was confused and didn't understand what was going on, until his father mentioned Yi Yun and revealed that he had discovered an unexplained debt of 200 yuan in phone bills. It turned out that Eugene, his mischievous younger brother, had stolen his phone to make random calls, even doing what the ridiculous advertisements on TV said. Yu Xiao could only sigh, thinking that if Yi Yun knew about it, he would definitely be smug. But when the incident reached Yi Yun's ears, he didn't feel happy at all. Instead, he was annoyed and felt that everything had nothing to do with him. Ying Tao saw that Yi Yun was sad and stepped forward, frankly saying that the fault lay in Yu Xiao's stupidity, who didn't understand anything. She advised Yi Yun to actively find Yu Xiao to explain his feelings, because there was nothing hindering the two of them. However, Yi Yun seemed hesitant. He feared that if he opened his mouth, the two of them would not be able to continue being friends. To him, being able to see that person every day, being treated as friends as they were now, was enough. Hearing that, Ying Tao could only hug Yi Yun as a silent word of comfort. The next morning, Lin Gu went to see Xiao Shi, showing off the photos taken at the aquarium with Xiao Man. Not stopping there, he also revealed that he had also caught Yu Xiao and Qi Lu walking together. From that, he speculated that the reason Qi Lu entered this school must be because of Yu Xiao. This made Xiao Shi slightly confused in his heart, stirring up a bit of jealousy, especially when he saw in the photos that Yu Xiao was always silently watching Ying Tao with affectionate eyes. During recess, Xiao Shi tried a small trick, deliberately dropping his water bottle on Ying Tao's desk, hoping she would help him get water, as a way to create an excuse to approach her. However, Ying Tao only felt annoyed. Noticing the situation, the class president, Qi Lu, proactively helped her take the water to refill it. Du Shang, a friend standing nearby, surprisingly asked why he was helping Xiao Shi. Qi Lu only replied briefly that it was normal for friends to help each other. But Du Shang sneered, thinking that he really didn't understand anything. If Qi Lu knew the relationship between Ying Tao and Xiao Shi, he might be so angry that he would get sick. When Xiao Shi returned to class after taking his books, his eyes involuntarily looked towards Ying Tao's desk. He was still looking forward to her bringing the water bottle back. But what surprised him was that the class president, Qi Lu, stepped forward holding the water bottle. He calmly said that he had proactively helped to get it because he didn't want Xiao Shi to have to wait any longer. A sense of disappointment suddenly surged in Xiao Shi's heart. An undeniable truth was growing with each silent action of the other person. But when he returned to class, a new water bottle and a small piece of paper with the word sorry suddenly appeared on Ying Tao's desk. For a moment, she thought that it was Xiao Shi who had quietly gotten water for her. A faint ray of hope flashed in her mind, but then faded as soon as the class president turned and said softly that it was his doing. The class president also gently apologized for intruding on their private matters and added that he had reminded Xiao Shi not to bother her anymore. That day's PE class pushed this tense relationship to the climax. On the track, Xiao Shi and Yu Xiao entered a subtle but fierce competition. Neither was willing to give way to the other. Each step, each breath, was an uncompromising confrontation. In the end, Yu Xiao reached the finish line first, carrying a proud sense of victory. But Xiao Shi didn't come there to compete. He only wanted to warn Yu Xiao that someone had started gossiping about the relationship between her and Ying Tao after the trip to the aquarium. Although he himself believed that there was nothing shady between the two, he understood that not everyone thought that way. That warning was met by Yu Xiao with a sharp denial. Not stopping there, Xiao Shi wanted Yu Xiao to return half of the letter that Ying Tao had written to him, the letter that later became the fire that ignited so much trouble. But Yu Xiao had no intention of returning it. He calmly said that he had won it from Lin Gu, and if Xiao Shi wanted it, why didn't he take it back then? However, ironically, on that very day, Ying Tao's health was not good. Despite feeling tired, she still tried to run as usual, leading to her fainting soon after. When Xiao Shi heard the news that she was on his way to buy soy milk for her, he panicked, leaving everything behind and running straight to the infirmary. Fortunately, the doctor diagnosed it as just mild heat stroke, not too serious, and that Ying Tao needed to rest for a while to recover. Even so, she told Yu Xiao and Fang Yuan to go back first, and she would rest a little longer and then return later. In a dazed, half-awake state, childhood memories flooded back, recalling the images of her sick days when she was always by her side. In a moment mixed between reality and dream, she murmured that it was good to have him there. When she woke up, the first image that caught her eye was Xiao, she sitting next to her, fanning her with a paper fan. Surprised and confused, she immediately reacted sharply, questioning him why he was there, and then coldly asserting that she didn't need his concern anymore because there was no relationship between them now. But Xiao Shi, as usual, maintained his mischievousness, trying to lighten the atmosphere. He repeated the words she had just said in her dream, that it was good to have him there, and then mentioned the promise from childhood that whenever she was sick, he would have to be by her side. But Ying Tao didn't let those old memories soften her heart. She brushed it off, denying everything, even saying that she didn't remember ever saying that. Finally, she asked Xiao Shi to leave and not say any more useless words again. Before that decisive rejection, Xiao Shi only silently nodded and then stood up and left the infirmary, leaving Ying Tao alone among overlapping emotions. Xiao Man was waiting outside the infirmary. When Ying Tao just stepped out, the look in her eyes didn't hide her concern, and her opening was an affirmation that she knew about the past between Ying Tao and Xiao Shi, that the two used to be close friends from childhood, playing together, growing up together like shadows and forms. Before that seemingly innocuous sentence, Ying Tao only coldly asked back whether everything she knew was told by Xiao Shi. Afterwards, Xiao Man replied in a neutral voice that the relationship between her and Xiao Shi only stopped at the level of studying, helping each other. Everything else, let's talk about it later if there's a chance. But Xiao Man didn't forget to emphasize that Xiao Shi valued Ying Tao very much, and if she was a friend of Xiao Shi, she would also consider her a friend. Although she didn't say it, many times Xiao Man also expressed concern when she heard the news of Ying Tao fainting. But in response to that concern was just a gentle but firm refusal. Ying Tao said that she had enough friends, she didn't need more, and then quietly walked back to class, leaving Xiao Man standing behind, slightly stunned. That night, the basketball court was sparsely populated. She was practicing cycling alone with a frustrated look. He trembled on the bike, trying to keep his balance, when suddenly someone came up behind him, intending to help. But that unintentional action caused him to panic, lose his balance, and fall hard to the ground, his elbow scraped and bleeding red. With red-rimmed eyes, Ying Tao spoke words full of bitterness. She asked why Xiao Shi still appeared in front of her after everything that had happened. Hadn't they agreed to treat each other as strangers? Why did he still act as if nothing had happened, making everything even more messed up? But Xiao Shi only wanted to start over again, from the beginning as two new friends. He suggested that if she was Qi Lu, then let Xiao Shi get to know her again. But to Ying Tao, no name mattered anymore. Whether it was Ying Tao or Qi Lu, she didn't want to be friends with Xiao Shi. When Xiao Shi intended to come over to check her wound, Ying Tao backed away, refusing contact. To her, every time Xiao Shi came close, he only brought hurt. Now, everyone had their own lives and should stop all connections from the past. Xiao Shi stood silently, not expecting that he would be the reason why she was so heartbroken. He tried to say sorry, but Ying Tao didn't want to hear anything more. She propped up the bicycle herself, silently leaving. That night, in the small room, she sat quietly with her diary. The pages were covered with lines written about Xiao Shi. But today, she wanted to close everything, not wanting to think about it anymore. She only hoped that she could sleep soundly, without dreams, to dispel all the worries in her heart. In another place, Xiao Shi also couldn't forget his life in Kunshan. The letters that were never sent were always kept in his heart. Now, he secretly hoped that one day he could personally give them back to Ying Tao. Over the years, he had written a lot, but every time he intended to send them, his mother tore everything up. The words that never reached her eventually only remained as regret and silence. News about the change in the relationship between Xiao Shi and Ying Tao spread throughout the school like mold. Some female students excitedly discussed, thinking that Xiao Shi was now much closer to Xiao Man. According to them, how could Qi Lu compare to Xiao Man, who was both beautiful and outstanding? A few words were intentionally belittling Ying Tao, thinking that she was nothing in Xiao Shi's eyes. Unable to hold back anymore, Ying Tao stepped forward, telling that group of female friends that from now on, don't mention her when talking about Xiao Shi. After saying that, she pretended to walk straight away, leaving a stunned atmosphere behind. That afternoon, while absent-mindedly sweeping leaves under the banyan tree, 3 friends in the class ran over, offering to help, but Ying Tao refused, saying that she could do it alone and everyone should go eat first. In a quiet space, the faint cry of a kitten suddenly rang out. Curious, she stepped over to see. At that moment, Xiaoxi also appeared, picking up trash nearby. He spoke softly, showing her how to stroke the kitten's chin, that it liked that very much. Seeing that she didn't bother to look up at him, Xiaoxi hesitantly said that in a few days he would be going to Olympic training, asking her to take care of this cat. It was a creature that he discovered from the previous semester, small, gentle, and as cute as a little rabbit, reminding him of Chun Lu. But as soon as the name of Chun Lu was uttered, Ying Tao immediately objected. She didn't want him to mention that name anymore. Xiaoxi was silent, and then replied that he missed Chun Lu very much, even though he had tried to stay away from Ying Tao, even though he had tried to restrain everything. Yet even the right to remember was forbidden. Ying Tao only coldly said, "Xiaoxi, now you have a new cat. Why do you need to remember Chun Lu anymore?" Xiaoxi angrily retorted, saying that he could cherish the current cat, but that didn't mean he could forget his feelings for Chun Lu, a feeling that was not easily replaced. The atmosphere became tense. Ying Tao was extremely angry, grabbed a large brick, intending to throw it at Xiaoxi. At that moment, a few friends ran over, stopping her in time. The principal happened to be passing by, and seeing the chaotic scene, he intervened. After hearing Xiaoxi recount the whole story, he strictly reminded Ying Tao to abide by the school rules. Even if she was an outstanding student, she wasn't allowed to affect others. If there were conflicts, she should come to the office to resolve them, instead of letting emotions lead her to the point of wanting to use violence. Before the witness of everyone, Ying Tao lowered her head and said nothing more. As for Xiaoxi, he still stood there, his eyes not angry, only full of fatigue. Between them at this moment, it was no longer the distance of two old friends, but an invisible wall piled up by injuries that had not yet healed. After hearing the whole incident from the two students, the principal decided to punish Xiaoxi by making him clean the entire sanitation area of the school. When he was done, he would have to go to the office to meet the teacher to explain. Standing next to Ying Tao, feeling that she was also partly wrong in this matter, so she bowed her head to apologize. Before that action, Xiaoxi also bowed his head to apologize in return. Seeing the two students knowing how to admit their mistakes and show sincerity, the principal couldn't help but express his satisfaction. At the same time, in Yu Zhao's room, the atmosphere was lively with a cheerful conversation between the group of friends. Suddenly, Yi Yan stepped in. Eugene quickly ran out to show off his new trophy, a hero car that he had to eat 6 packages of crispy noodles to get. Yi Yan smiled and thanked him, and then promised to reciprocate by telling him a secret. After being in a room for a while, Yi Yan came out with a cold face, glanced at Yu Xiao, and left, leaving Eugene standing outside the door, bursting into tears. Just then, Ying Tao stepped in, walking and muttering that she had just seen Yi Yan angrily leave in the hallway and didn't understand what had happened. When she found Eugene crying, she quickly ran over to ask, but only received a resolute answer, that from now on, he wouldn't pay attention to Yi Yan anymore. While the group was gathered watching the tournament, Yu Xiao sat next to Ying Tao, curiously asking about what happened yesterday between her and Xiaoxi. He didn't understand why the two of them almost fought, but in the end, Ying Tao helped Xiaoxi. After thinking for a while, Ying Tao realized the reason why Yi Yan was sulking, and then she suddenly stood up and left, no longer interested in watching anymore. Arriving home, she found Yi Yan sitting in her room. Yi Yan gently analyzed that Xiaoxi actually reacted very slowly. He didn't understand clearly what was happening, while she had grasped everything. Yi Yan guessed that the rabbit that Ying Tao had mentioned was a metaphor for her, and the cat was a symbol for Xiao Man. Ying Tao immediately denied it, and didn't want to continue hearing about Xiaoxi anymore. But Yi Yan understood that even though she denied it with her mouth, in her heart, Ying Tao still hoped that he was living well. That night, Yu Xiao ran over to ask Yi Yan what had made Eugene cry so much. Yi Yan calmly admitted that he had tricked the boy by saying that if you like someone, you had to exchange secrets with that person. Eugene believed it and told his secret, and then was threatened that it would be made public if he dared to like him anymore. Yu Xiao was furious because Eugene was just an innocent child. There was nothing wrong with liking someone. Meanwhile, Ying Tao sat in her room, holding the jacket that Xiaoxi used to love the most, her heart full of confusion. She wrote in her diary, emphasizing that Xiaoxi's mood had nothing to do with her. The next morning, the teacher announced that Xiaoxi would be attending the Olympic Mathematics Symposium, so someone was needed to help collect 10 exercises and practice. Xiao Man quickly volunteered, making Ying Tao feel uneasy. During recess, Ying Tao went to take care of the kitten, bringing food. That evening, it suddenly rained heavily. The whole group of friends were soaking wet, waiting for the bus, and accidentally heard that cats were very afraid of the sound of rain. She immediately asked her 3 friends to go back first, while she ran back to see if the kitten was okay. Not seeing it anywhere, She frantically went to find it, climbing even high walls. Finally, she found the kitten cowering in a small crevice. At the same time, Xiaoxi also appeared, unable to hide his surprise at seeing Ying Tao there. When Ying Tao intended to ask him to pull her up, Xiaoxi teased that she said they were just ordinary classmates who would risk their lives for a classmate's cat. What she was doing had long exceeded the normal limit. The more Ying Tao denied it, the clearer she made it. Finally, because she wanted to be helped, Ying Tao reluctantly praised Xiaoxi from his academic ability, appearance to his voice, just to hide the real reason. Xiaoxi didn't hide his joy, admitting that just her treating him a little specially was enough, making him feel pleased. When Xiaoxi suggested that he be a stepping stone, Ying Tao climbed up first and then didn't pull him up anymore. She said that it was his cat, he should take care of it himself, and don't think that she really meant what she just said. After saying that, she turned and left, but after walking for a while, not being at ease, she still turned back to look. Only when she saw that Xiaoxi and the kitten were safe did she breathe a sigh of relief and really leave. When Yian returned home and caught Ying Tao in a soaking wet state, exhausted from running in the heavy rain just to find a kitten, Yian saw everything and realized that it wasn't just about a cat. She asked directly whether it was only because of Xiaoxi that Ying Tao had pushed herself to that situation. However, Ying Tao firmly denied it, thinking that it was all just because she was worried about the kitten, but Yian didn't believe it. She clearly saw what Ying Tao was trying to hide, and then frankly asked her to redefine this relationship. If Xiaoxi continued to be vague, sometimes close and sometimes far, then it was best to let him disappear from her world and never come close again. The next morning, Xiaoxi silently walked behind Ying Tao's group of friends, his eyes full of desire to return to the familiar circle of the old days, but he couldn't squeeze in. At the same time, Yian rode her bike to see Xiaoxi. She stopped in front of him, asking clearly what exactly Ying Tao was to Xiaoxi. Was it because he was too close to Xiao Man that he had forgotten Ying Tao, the childhood friend who used to stand shoulder to shoulder with him? Xiaoxi couldn't accept that, but the problem was whether Ying Tao would believe him or not. Without saying anything more, Yian gave her bike to Xiaoxi. He immediately rode after the bus where Ying Tao was sitting. He tried to shout loudly amidst the rain and wind, affirming that he hadn't changed, that he still always wanted to be good friends with her. Ying Tao heard it, opened the bus window, and worriedly shouted, telling Xiaoxi not to chase anymore because it was too dangerous. But Xiaoxi still didn't stop, continuing to ride until he was exhausted, his breath ragged. Finally, Ying Tao had to get off the bus and run to his side, questioning why he would do such a foolish thing, as if he didn't care about his life anymore. Contrary to the sternness in Ying Tao's eyes, Xiaoxi only smiled, the smile of a remorseful fool. The apology that came out of his mouth made Ying Tao silent. Xiaoxi offered to take her to school, but Ying Tao stubbornly refused. Seeing Xiaoxi fall off the bike afterwards, she couldn't help but laugh, a math genius who could be so clumsy. So the two of them took the bus to school together, not saying much, but the distance between them had been shortened a bit. On the way, Ying Tao asked about the time in the past few years when Xiaoxi hadn't contacted her at all. His answer took her back to the freezing memory of that winter vacation. When he left Kunshan and returned to the city, every morning Xiaoxi woke up, he was immediately taken to an advanced math class, and every day he was overwhelmed with exercises. He had always told himself that as soon as he finished studying, he would call Ying Tao. He would return to Kunshan for a trip. But all the plans fell apart when he got home and discovered that his mother had secretly cut the phone line. That Lunar New Year, he had earnestly asked his mother to make a phone call to Kunshan, but was refused. Later, even knowing that he had to transfer to study at the experimental junior high school, Xiaoxi still recklessly climbed the wall to run away, spraining his ankle while jumping down. He still remembered that pain vividly, yet he still tried to take a bus back to Kunshan, but before he could meet anyone, his mother drove to pick him up. Hearing this, Ying Tao's tears fell uncontrollably. She choked up, blaming herself for not understanding, for unconsciously resenting someone who had no choice. She asked Xiaoxi if it hurt a lot then. How could someone as weak as him bear those things? She had once only needed a phone call. A message was enough to reassure her. Yet he had disappeared without a trace. Xiaoxi was choked with words. He had once wanted to call, once wanted to return, but his mother didn't just stop at cutting off contact. She had sternly declared that if he insisted on getting involved with anyone in Kunshan, she had a way to make them all leave. That sentence had become a heavy threat, forcing him to remain silent, unable to do anything but keep his distance. Now, Xiaoxi could only say sorry because during that winter vacation, he couldn't keep his promise to return. He sincerely hoped that what he shared with Ying Tao could be realized. But now, understanding clearly that he had nothing in his hands, still being bound, he was even more afraid that if he continued to hold on, it would cause Ying Tao to have to sacrifice for him once again. During a meal, Ying Tao told her friends everything about Xiao Shi, about the difficulties that he had to carry in his heart for many years. After hearing it, everyone was sympathetic and partly understood the real person of Xiao Shi. On the way to class, Du Shang saw Xiao Shi and shouted loudly to greet him. Ying Tao quickly stopped him. The matter between them couldn't be easily turned around like that. Suddenly becoming friends with Xiao Shi now, someone who had been the center of so much trouble, if it reached his mother's ears, it would cause a lot of trouble. Du Shang then revealed that Xiao Shi's mother had not yet returned from the Lishui construction site and suggested meeting up tonight to settle everything once and for all. During recess, Yu Xiao found a way to approach Xiao Shi by asking about the lesson to pass on a message from Ying Tao. If he could go out tonight, come to the small garden at 11 o'clock. Xiao Man intended to take advantage of that opportunity to ask Xiao Shi to explain the lesson, but he avoided her by getting up and walking away. When he returned to the table, the indifferent expression on his face made Xiao Man bitter, while Ying Tao only smiled slightly. That evening, both were busy preparing as if they were eager for their first date. Ying Tao tried on each outfit in front of the mirror, while Xiao Shi couldn't sit still, dressing carefully. On the way, Ying Tao's cheerful demeanor made Yi Yun, who happened to meet her, unable to help but remind her to keep some sense of mystery, not to reveal all her emotions. But to Ying Tao, it was simply that she wanted to tell Xiao Shi that if he missed her, then she did too. Xiao Shi also left home in a bustling mood, but all the joy vanished as soon as he saw his mother suddenly return earlier than expected. As soon as she saw the red watch on her son's hand, she was dissatisfied. She always thought that red didn't suit him, and more than that, she believed that her son was still too young to know what he really wanted. Xiao Shi spoke up, no longer hiding his hurt, asking his mother whether he was still so young that he couldn't understand his own heart. The mother didn't answer, only blaming her son for knowing how to argue back lately, and then mentioned her deceased older brother, the person she always turned to whenever Xiao Shi achieved something. Trying to remain calm, Xiao Shi asked for permission to go out to meet Ying Tao, but was immediately forbidden. His mother threatened to go to Hai Feng's house to accuse his daughter of dating a male student late at night. Seeing that he was still silent, she continued to use her familiar tactic, using her work at the Fujin construction site as pressure, threatening to push him to a place suitable for his future. This time, Xiao Shi was no longer silent. He questioned whether she intended to use this method to bind her son for life, but all he received was the old saying that when he grew up, he would understand his mother's suffering. She left, leaving Xiao Shi choked up to the point of crying. He didn't want to prepare for the Olympics anymore. He just wanted to return to school like everyone else. In that house, the heavy atmosphere caused his parents to start turning to blame each other for letting things get to this point. In stark contrast, in Ying Tao's small house, her parents were peacefully sitting and looking at photos of their daughter when she was young, radiating happiness. Ying Tao grew up in love, without coercion, without carrying heavy expectations, and that created a clear contrast between her and Xiao Shi. Suddenly, Fang Yuan's father called, informing them that Xiao Shi's parents were arguing loudly in the cadre's residential area, and the reason was because of the matter between their son and Ying Tao. Immediately, her parents hurried over to resolve it. Xiao Shi immediately ran downstairs, bowing his head to apologize to her parents for secretly asking her out, but now being unable to go. He asked the two to send his apologies on his behalf because now he had to go to the Olympic training camp as his mother had forced him to agree. Then Xiao Shi turned to his mother, committing that he would fulfill his promise. Only then was the woman willing to let go. On Ying Tao's side, when she saw her parents coming out of Xiao Shi's house, she burst into tears and ran over. Her mother gently reassured her, saying that she had done nothing wrong, but Ying Tao still felt uneasy. She was worried that she had made her parents feel awkward. Despite being comforted, her heart was still full of worry for Xiao Shi. When the car took Xiao Shi away from the residential area, his eyes met her eyes, a brief moment, but containing intense emotions and indescribable. In an instant, everything that hadn't been said was contained in that gaze, a feeling of choking, ambiguity, and regret. Early in the morning, Ying Tao's parents called her to get up and have breakfast. It turned out that Fang Yuan's father and other aunts and uncles were worried that Ying Tao would be under psychological pressure for being criticized for dating early, so they had specially arranged a gathering of several families to encourage her. Everyone said something, all saying that they had watched Ying Tao grow up, that she had been a kind and righteous girl since she was little, and had helped Yu Xiao, Du Shang, and Fang Yuan countless times. If you said she was dating early, they definitely wouldn't believe it. Hai Feng thanked everyone for their kindness and said that this matter should be put to rest. At school, Ying Tao told the group about her suspicions. Xiao Shi's mother was at a construction site far away. How would she know that she and Xiao Shi were meeting in the evening? It seemed someone had snitched. In class, Yu Xiao discovered that his scratch paper was gone. He suspected Lin Ge, because he had also taken the letter that Ying Tao sent to Xiaoxi before. Ying Tao told Yu Xiao to find a way to ask Lin Gu out to question him. If it was really him, they would settle old debts together. Lin Gu was very surprised to hear that Xiaoxi had suddenly left for training, so he looked for Xiao Man to ask about it. Xiao Man didn't say much, only excused herself that she didn't know either. At this time, Yu Xiao suddenly rushed over, put his arm around Lin Gu, and dragged him away, saying that the teacher was looking for him. Xiao Man was uneasy, so she followed. Ying Tao was trying to build up momentum, preparing to scare Lin Gu as soon as he saw her, who knew as soon as she kicked the door open, it was just in time for Yu Xiao to escort Lin Gu in and push him to the ground. Lin Gu refused to give in. He thought that Yu Xiao and Ying Tao were not only dating early, but also bullying him. This matter reached the teacher's ears, and Ying Tao's and Yu Xiao's mothers were invited to school. Knowing that the teacher thought the two were dating early, the two mothers hurriedly explained that these two children grew up together, were as close as siblings, and couldn't possibly be in love. Afterwards, Yu Xiao's mother also specially went to the class to help correct the rumors. But because of this, now the whole school knew that Qi Lu was Ying Tao, the one who wrote the letter to Xiaoxi. During this time, Ying Tao's story was spreading all over the school. Whenever they were free, the female students in the class would gather together to gossip about her. Yu Xiao was so angry at protecting his friend that he almost got physical with them. Class President Qi Lu still cared about Ying Tao, as always, but it seemed that she couldn't concentrate on studying anymore. She felt that she should go to the Olympic Team Training Center for a trip. Her close friends couldn't stop her, so they had to go with her. At the training center, Xiaoxi accidentally heard the rumors about Ying Tao. He was worried and rushed to the main gate, just in time to see Yu Xiao and Ying Tao being stopped by the teacher on duty. In front of the teacher, Ying Tao couldn't say it directly, so she hinted that she was looking for the little rabbit. Xiaoxi also replied that he was going out to find the little kitten. Returning from the training center, seeing a street performer playing and singing on the street, Ying Tao was inspired. She found a guitar, stood on the high ground outside the training center, and began to sing. Inside the dormitory, Xiaoxi also turned on his desk lamp in response. The physics monthly exam was coming up, but Ying Tao felt that she couldn't remember the formulas, and the exam was a mess. When the results came out, she didn't even dare to look. Knowing that she ranked 5th from the bottom, Ying Tao was extremely disappointed. Yu Xiao also dropped to 15th from the bottom this time. A male friend advised him not to be close to Ying Tao anymore. Now even his grades were falling. Yu Xiao was very uncomfortable hearing this and hit the male friend. The teacher criticized both of them and reminded the students watching not to gossip behind other people's backs. Ying Tao went to see the teacher. The teacher advised her not to let the rumors affect her. Her task now was to study. She shouldn't always play with the male friends. That way it was hard to avoid being misunderstood. It was not easy to stay in the specialized class of experimental high school. If the results were still as bad next time, she would be transferred to another class. After listening, Ying Tao seriously told the teacher that her friendship with Yu Xiao, Du Shang, and Fang Yuan was pure. They were her friends for life. Making friends did not violate school rules, but she would abide by the rules of being eliminated if her grades were not good. She would definitely try to catch up with her friends. Ying Tao's exam results were not good, but her parents didn't blame her. Shengwan even specially cooked pork brain soup for her to nourish herself. Ying Tao went to tutoring with Yu Xiao and Fang Yuan, but she was very bad at physics. The whole class had finished the exercises and left, leaving only her. Even though the teacher re-explained it privately, she still couldn't solve the problem. After school, she went home and buried herself in solving the problem in her room. Yu Xiao came to find her and gave a condition. As long as she agreed to cheer him on at the basketball game, he would show her the secret to being good at physics. Ying Tao immediately agreed. Afterwards, Yu Xiao took her to the basketball court to practice throwing water balloons. While throwing halfway, Yian angrily came to find Yu Xiao. The thing was, Yu Xiao's phone had automatically installed 3 waiting ringtones for her. Yu Xiao didn't know anything. He guessed that it was his younger brother's prank. To make Yi Yun happy, Ying Tao took Yu Xiao's phone and gave it to her to turn off the ringtones herself. Unexpectedly, Yi Yun discovered a message reporting the results of the compatibility quiz. It was the quiz that Yu Xiao had taken about himself and Ying Tao. Yi Yun was angry, threw the phone at Ying Tao, and left. Seeing the message, Ying Tao quickly said that it was just a misunderstanding and chased after Yi Yun. She advised her friend that the most important goal now was to study, but Yi Yun mentioned Xiaoxi, which made Ying Tao not know what else to say. As for Yu Xiao, he had registered Ying Tao for the basketball cheerleading squad because he knew Yi Yun was also participating, hoping this would be an opportunity for the 2 female friends to make up. These days, Ying Tao hadn't paid attention to his group of friends. Seeing Ying Tao coaxing Yi Yun, Yu Xiao guessed that the 2 of them were having conflict, so the whole group was caught in the crossfire. But he didn't expect that the reason Yi Yun was angry was because of him. Ying Tao originally intended to find the teacher to ask to withdraw from the cheerleading squad. She wanted to concentrate on reviewing. Otherwise, if she failed the next monthly exam, she would really be transferred out of Class 18. But when she went to the practice field and saw Yi Yun, she immediately changed her mind. She decided to practice with Yi Yun. Because the other members were all on Xiao Man's side, the two were isolated. When it came time to divide into groups, no one wanted to be in a group with them, and in the end, the teacher had to assign 2 more people. However, their group lacked unity, and an accident occurred when practicing the lifting movement. Part of the reason was that Ying Tao was not familiar with the movement. Seeing this, Ying Tao said in front of the teacher that Yi Yun would teach her, not giving her friend a chance to refuse. A few days later, Yi Yun always used her free time to help Ying Tao practice. Finally, the two coordinated better and better, and Ying Tao also made great progress. At the dress rehearsal, they were praised by the teacher. Seeing this, Xiao Man deliberately fell. She stepped on Ying Tao's foot, but she was the one who fell to the ground, then pretended to be pitiful in front of everyone, saying that she didn't blame Ying Tao. Ying Tao just found it really confusing. In the changing room, Xiao Man's group was bad-mouthing Ying Tao when Yi Yun overheard them. She proactively stood up to defend her friend, telling Xiao Man that if she didn't want to dance anymore, she should withdraw. That way she could nominate herself as captain. When they left, new people would naturally come in. She was confident that she could teach Ying Tao, so she was also confident that she could teach others. Ying Tao had heard these words from Yi Yun and felt very happy, because her friend was still on her side. On the day to choose costumes, Yi Yun didn't go. Everyone chose the outfit that Xiao Man looked best in. Ying Tao had no choice. When she opened her bag to check, she found that her costume was flawed. When she returned to the store to exchange it, the car had already left without waiting for her. She was very angry, opened her phone, but didn't know who to call. She decided to walk home by herself, but after walking for a while, she got lost and finally reached a beach. Ying Tao returned home, both angry and heartbroken. Sheng Wan went into the bedroom to ask about the situation, and Ying Tao immediately declared that she would never play with Yi Yun again. Sheng Wan quickly comforted her, saying that Yi Yun's family's convenience store was not open today, so something must have happened to the family. Otherwise, she would have gone to get the performance clothes with her. Just then, Ying Tao's father received a call from Director Jiang, informing him that Yi Yun's father had to be hospitalized. Hearing this, Ying Tao realized that she had wrongly blamed her friend, and she and her parents hurriedly went to the hospital. Yu Zhao's children were also there. These families originally had a very close relationship, so when they knew that Yi Yun's family was in trouble, everyone contributed money to help, but lied that it was money reimbursed by the factory. Uncle Qin knew that an accident had happened that year, and the factory had compensated only once, but he still didn't expose everyone's lie. Afterwards, Ying Tao went home with Yi Yun to get some things. While cleaning up, Ying Tao clumsily broke a cup, but the atmosphere between the two had softened. They talked and resolved their misunderstandings. Ying Tao thanked Yi Yun for always caring, and Yi Yun admitted that she was a little angry, but it wasn't significant. Afterwards, Yi Yun suggested that Ying Tao come back to study with the Kunshan group of friends tomorrow. She also revealed that the compatibility test between Ying Tao and Yu Xiao was actually sent by Eugene because this kid really liked Ying Tao and hoped she would be his sister-in-law. Yi Yun deliberately said this to help Ying Tao feel less awkward and hoped she would keep this a secret so as not to embarrass Yu Xiao. The next day, as soon as he returned from his business trip, Director Jiang went to the hospital to visit Uncle Qin immediately. But Uncle Qin stayed in the restroom for a very long time, which made Yi Yun's aunt very worried. Yi Yun knew that her father didn't want to see anyone at this time, so she cleverly invited Director Jiang to leave first. That evening, Yi Yun looked at the money that Director Jiang had given her during the day. When she met the director, she found out that her father's hospitalization this time was not covered. It was all from the pockets of the neighboring aunts and uncles. Yi Yun quietly placed the money under her father's pillow. That evening, Yi Yun accidentally discovered her father's diary. Inside, it recorded all the small, trivial things about her. Although Yi Yun grew up without her mother by her side, the love her father had for her was never lacking. In the diary, besides the records of daily life, there were also Uncle Qin's goals. He had always worked hard to earn money, all for Yi Yun, and even planned to buy a house for her in the future. Reading those lines, Yi Yun couldn't hold back her tears. Because she had to take care of her father, Yi Yun didn't get enough rest, and as a result, she fell during practice. Xiao Man knew that she would return on the day of the performance, so she took this opportunity to suggest that Yi Yun and Ying Tao's group not participate, to avoid affecting everyone. Ying Tao wasn't too bothered, but the other two members of the group were very sad because they had worked hard for so long and now missed the opportunity. Especially Wu Xuan. Yi Yun felt very sorry for everyone, but Ying Tao was not angry at all. She even affirmed that, between performing on stage and Yi Yun, she would definitely choose Yi Yun. Hearing these words from Ying Tao, Wu Xuan burst into tears. She cried because she was touched, but also because she was disappointed. She originally considered Xiao Man her best friend, but Xiao Man was willing to sacrifice her friends just because she didn't want someone she hated to perform. At this moment, Wu Shuang clearly saw Xiao Man's true face. She was selfish, never truly considered anyone a friend. Pretending to be close to everyone was only to form cliques and isolate others. After realizing the truth, Wu Shuang told Ying Tao that they still had a chance, which was to change the person being lifted in the performance, and that person was Ying Tao. Afterwards, they proactively went to find the teacher to ask for another chance to perform. The teacher agreed to let the group return. She emphasized that this was an important opportunity for them. No need to worry about whether anyone remembered or not, just do their best to have no regrets. The teacher's fairness made Xiao Man lose her chance to shine, and Wu Shuang also realized the true face of the person she once considered her best friend. Wu Shuang decided to return the bracelet that Xiao Man had previously given her, declaring that from now on, they were no longer friends. As expected, as soon as they entered the stage, Ying Tao's team attracted the attention of many spectators. Everyone applauded nonstop. Finally, Ying Tao was lifted high amidst the cheers. Returning to school, Xiaoxi's eyes stared at her in astonishment. He had never seen Ying Tao like that. His eyes didn't want to leave her for even a second. After the performance, the students were taken to the principal's office for a souvenir photo. Here, Xiao Man tried to build a close relationship with Xiaoxi's mother, trying to show that she had a special relationship. However, Xiaoxi and Ying Tao completely ignored it. During the photo shoot, he quietly stood next to Ying Tao and smiled when he saw her slightly tiptoeing to get into the frame. Knowing that Xiaoxi would return to school, Ying Tao had specially asked her mother to prepare lotus root slices and juju buns. However, Xiaoxi always went with his mother, making it impossible for her to find an opportunity to give him the food. At that time, Yiyan contacted Yu Xiao and everyone, hoping they could help stop Xiaoxi. Fang Yuan mustered up all his courage, stopping Xiaoxi right in front of Aunt Liang. He lied that teacher Xia told Xiaoxi to go to the office to get study materials. Aunt Liang didn't believe it, and was about to call teacher Xia when there was an urgent matter at the company. She had to go back to the company first, telling the driver to take Xiaoxi to get the materials and then drive him back to the training camp. Unexpectedly, on the way back, they happened to meet teacher Xia. Teacher Xia said that there were no materials left behind. Out of options, Xiaoxi had to follow the driver. As soon as he got in the car, Yu Xiao, Ying Tao, and their friends chased after him. The driver stopped the car and said that he needed to stop by the shop next door to eat a bowl of noodles, which would take about half an hour. Xiaoxi was extremely grateful to the driver. He finally had some alone time with Ying Tao. The two went into a small alley. Ying Tao took out the food her mother made for Xiaoxi to eat. Before he was 10 years old, Xiaoxi was always lonely. Until he had math problems as friends, his loneliness gradually faded. But since he met the group of friends in Kunshan, they brought him the joy of being himself. Ying Tao even healed his unfortunate childhood. He wanted to be friends with them forever. But unexpectedly, the scene of the two walking together in the alley was discovered by the class beauty. She naively thought that as long as she was outstanding, she would definitely stand next to Xiaoxi. Therefore, at all costs, she had to get Xiaoxi. Xiao Man went to see the teacher, intending to suggest that Ying Tao leave class 18, but before she could speak, the teacher told her to help Ying Tao more, not to let her separate from the class. Unable to resolve it herself, Xiao Man decided to make this matter public. Therefore, she arranged for 2 female students to go to the alley. Only then would Ying Tao's position in the school and in the class not be good later. Yu Xiao and his friends saw those 2 female students, immediately informed Ying Tao first, and then tried to delay them on the way. Ying Tao received the news and quickly took Xiaoxi away. When the 2 female students arrived, they didn't see anyone in the alley. Xiaoxi carried Ying Tao on his back. They ran while being chased by a dog, so they didn't see the electric car speeding towards them from the front. Everyone fell. Xiaoxi's head was injured, and Ying Tao fainted as soon as she saw blood. They were taken to the emergency room of the hospital by the driver. Xiaoxi's wound had to be stitched up. All the way, Ying Tao kept apologizing. She was very worried about Xiaoxi. Afterwards, Director Jiang came, and he comforted Ying Tao. Xiao Man was extremely upset when she heard about it, crying in the classroom because she was also very worried about Xiaoxi. When Ying Tao returned to school from the hospital, Yu Xiao and Yi Yun told her about Xiao Man crying. They were worried that if Ying Tao returned to the dormitory at this time, the female students in the class would make things difficult for her. But Ying Tao was no longer afraid. She wanted to directly confront these things. At the same time, Xiaoxi also told his father directly that he would no longer compromise because of his mother's threats. He wanted to be friends with Ying Tao openly and honestly, just like when they were little. If his mother transferred Ying Tao's parents to the construction site in Fujian, he would accuse his mother of abusing her power. As for herself, Ying Tao also told Xiao Man directly that she would definitely be friends with Xiaoxi. They would eat together, watch the sunset together, play together, just like when they were little. These words made Xiao Man speechless. Other classmates also gossiped that Xiao Shi's injury was because he was willing. It seemed that the relationship between him and Ying Tao was really good. Aunt Liang was extremely angry when she heard about her son's injury. She got the electric car owner's phone number from the driver and found out the whole process of the accident. She went to Ying Tao's house, demanding that Sheng Wan teach her children well. Ying Tao was very angry, intending to say something back to her, but her mother stopped her. Ying Tao couldn't just stand by and watch her parents suffer because of her. She took the money and chased after Aunt Liang, explaining that it was for hospital expenses. Aunt Liang asked Ying Tao if she had anything she wanted to say to her. Ying Tao replied that she just wanted to be friends with Xiao Shi. But Aunt Liang thought that Ying Tao would affect Xiao Shi. She recalled that when she was little, Ying Tao had once told her that Xiao Shi was not a replacement for his older brother. He was a flesh and blood person with his own preferences. Aunt Liang felt helpless. The child she had risked her life to give birth to that year was now opposing her because of an outsider. Aunt Liang warned Ying Tao that if she persisted, Xiao Shi would lose his mother, and she herself would also lose this son. Aunt Liang's words made Ying Tao extremely uncomfortable. That night, she received a call from Xiao Shi. He said he was craving jujube, steamed buns, and lotus root sandwiches made by her mother, and wanted Ying Tao to bring them to him after school tomorrow. Ying Tao only said a few words and then hung up, but she still didn't accept Xiao Shi's offer because she hesitated. The school organized a sports festival. Yi Yin received a call from Aunt Song Yin, learning that her father had insisted on being discharged from the hospital before fully recovering. Yi Yin returned home and had a big argument with her father. She wanted to drop out of school, even throwing all her books out because she didn't want to see her father struggle anymore. She just wanted him to rest and get well. Ying Tao went home with Yi Yin, witnessing this scene and feeling very sad for her friend. That evening, Ying Tao helped her mother cook. She asked her mother if she had ever had any expectations for her. Her mother said that she only hoped Ying Tao could live happily and peacefully, just like her name Qi Lo. Her mother also said that the greatest thing in her life was being chosen by Ying Tao as her mother. The conversation with her mother helped Ying Tao mature. It seemed she knew what she wanted. Therefore, she took the lotus root sandwiches and jujube steamed buns out of the refrigerator and brought them to Xiao Shi's house. She told Aunt Liang that if Xiao Shi was about to lose his mother, then she had to be by his side even more. Aunt Liang was speechless when she heard this, but finally accepted the food that Ying Tao brought. The next day, Yi Yin didn't go to school. Ying Tao, Fang Yuan, and their friends put on a play to convince Yi Yin to come to school but failed. They had to go to school first. In the end, they still had to rely on Aunt Song Yin and Yi Yun's father to act out a play to move her. When she learned that Aunt Song Yin intended to open a skewer shop right next to her house so she could look after her father, Yi Yin immediately took her school bag to school. Today was the day Yu Xiao was running the 3,000-meter race, and Yi Yin wanted to cheer for him. Just as she left the house, she met Xiao Shi, so the two went to school together to cheer for Yu Xiao. During the race, Yu Xiao fell and sprained his ankle. Xiao Shi walked beside him. Just like when they were little, he repeated the words that Yu Xiao had said to him years ago. Ying Tao, Yi Yin, and their friends were waiting at the finish line. Yu Xiao limped to the finish line and then was taken to the infirmary by Xiao Shi and everyone. Fortunately, there was nothing to worry about. Now, the relationship between Xiao Shi and everyone had improved, and he could finally return to the Kunshan squad. Du Shang's mother's skewer shop and Yi Yun's father's convenience store had finally merged into one. Aunt Song Yin wanted to pay the rent, but Uncle Qin refused. Du Shang and Yi Yin helped clean up together. Yi Yin really liked Aunt Song Yan's cooking, but they couldn't eat together tonight because they had an appointment to go to the beach to set off fireworks. Unexpectedly, Du Shang's father came to the convenience store to buy cigarettes. Du Shang had been beaten by his father since he was little. He had a very bad temper. Once he even punched and kicked his mother just because she hadn't cooked the meat thoroughly. Now that he had returned, Yi Yin and her friends were very worried about Du Shang. Therefore, they decided to temporarily cancel the fireworks plan to go to Du Shang's house to check on the situation. When the group arrived at Du Shang's house, they heard the sound of breaking dishes. They hurriedly knocked on the door and called Du Shang, but the person who opened the door was Uncle Du. It turned out that Du Shang was cooking with his father. Seeing that the situation seemed fine, the group decided to leave first. Xiao Shi told Du Shang to stay and have a complete meal with his family. There would be many more opportunities to set off fireworks, and he had already prepared gifts for everyone. The next day, Xiao Shi and everyone rode their bikes to school. He gave everyone a red scarf. Only Ying Tao's scarf had a small white rabbit on it. Although the scarf was a bit ugly because it was knitted by Xiao Shi himself, everyone still happily wore it. At noon, while eating in the cafeteria, Aunt Liang rushed in furiously and called Xiao Shi. It turned out that he had unilaterally decided not to participate in the opening ceremony of the Physics Olympiad. Xiao Shi told Ying Tao that everything was about to end, and then followed his mother. Ying Tao didn't understand what his words meant. She stood up, and with her friends, put the scars around their necks, seeing him off. Xiao Shi wanted to take the math Olympiad exam, but on that very day, he had a fever. Fearing that taking medicine would make him dizzy and affect his exam, he tried to endure it and almost fell asleep in the exam room. However, even with a high fever, it didn't affect his performance. He achieved a perfect score, winning the championship as desired. For him, this was an opportunity to be directly admitted to Tsinghua or Peking University. Xiao Shi finally breathed a sigh of relief. He had fulfilled his wish, but it was his mother's wish. When he returned home, he pulled out all his study materials and told his mother to tear them up because he was already a champion, and from now on, he wanted to be himself again. His words angered his mother, and she slapped him. Director Jiang came home just in time to witness this scene and asked Mrs. Jiang to calm down. At the same time, Ying Tao's parents also received news that Xiao Shi had been hit by his mother. They were very worried, as Xiao Shi had always been very obedient, but lived under his mother's strict control. They didn't understand why Mrs. Jiang would do that. Just then, Ying Tao's father received news that something had happened at Xiao Shi's house, and Ying Tao ran off when she heard it. On this side, Xiao Shi wholeheartedly pleaded with his parents to let him live according to his own name. Mrs. Jiang, unable to use physical force, played the emotional card. She advised him to continue studying for the exam, otherwise he wouldn't be able to get into Tsinghua Peking. He absolutely had to become a world champion. Mrs. Jiang also blamed Ying Tao's group, claiming that ever since he met them, he started becoming stubborn. Xiao Shi was completely disappointed when he heard this. From childhood until now, he had always lived under their strict control. They had never once thought about his feelings. Xiao Shi also knew that his mother was always haunted by his brother's passing. So one time when she was drunk, she mistook him for his brother. Before, his parents always wanted his brother to become a math genius. But in reality, he didn't like it at all, so on the day of the exam, he ran away and went missing. After he was born, his mother always forced him to live in his brother's identity. He always wanted his parents to acknowledge him as Xiao Shi, but his mother thought he wasn't worthy of his brother. Xiao Shi felt even more hurt by these words. He started getting agitated, holding a knife and threatening to take his own life just to live as Xiao Shi. Just then, Ying Tao arrived. She looked through the crack in the door and saw Xiao Shi intending to use a fruit knife to hurt himself. She quickly stopped him. Ying Tao then went in and invited Xiao Shi to her house for hot pot. He heard her voice, regained his composure, and threw the knife away. Afterwards, Ying Tao and everyone took him home. In Ying Tao's room, he saw her diary. It turned out that throughout the days he was away from Kenshin, Ying Tao thought of him every day. Ying Tao came in with things, saw Xiao Shi's tear-stained eyes. She handed him a tissue and then applied medicine to his wound. She knew Xiao Shi had read her diary, but she wasn't angry at all. She encouraged him that every time she looked into his eyes, it was an image of Xiao Shi. Every time she called his name, she only thought of the sunset in Kenshin. All of that was given to him by her. Xiao Shi felt half-healed by these words, and he also promised not to disappoint her. At this moment, Director Jiang also came to Ying Tao's house. Ying Tao's parents kept him for dinner. Just then, Xiao Shi's mother drove out alone. Ying Tao received a call from Yi Yun, who was downstairs, and led Xiao Shi to the window. The whole group wore red scarves to encourage him to try to overcome it. Ying Tao advised him to consider the old Xiao Shi as having disappeared. Now he was Xiao Shi belonging to Kenshin. No one could control him. Xiao Shi felt very lucky to have met her. From now on, he could live freely. Meanwhile, Mrs. Jiang recalled what had just happened and was extremely angry, leading to losing control and having an accident on the road. Director Jiang received the news and immediately went to the hospital. Ying Tao's parents also went with him. Fortunately, Xiao Shi's mother was fine, only suffered soft tissue injuries and a mild concussion. The school leaders came to visit Xiao Shi's mother and also took the opportunity to educate Xiao Shi, advising him not to be too rebellious and no matter what, not to give up such a good direct admission opportunity. Ying Tao happened to come to the hospital to deliver food and overheard their conversation at the door of the hospital room. She wanted to quickly take Xiao Shi away from there. Just as teacher Xia opened the door, Ying Tao took out a bowl of super Mother Maid and then used the excuse that her parents told Xiao Shi to come home to eat to quickly take him away from this troublesome place. Xiao Shi was very obedient, meekly following Ying Tao, but this made his mother extremely angry. Xiao Shi and Ying Tao sat by the beach. He rested his head on Ying Tao's shoulder, enjoying the moment immensely. These past few days, Xiao Shi had been eating at Ying Tao's house. The school leaders then went to his house to persuade him. After much difficulty in seeing the leaders off, Ying Tao's father looked at Xiao Shi, who was busy in the kitchen, his face full of thought. Xiao Shi realized that he had something to say, and told him to speak it. Ying Tao's father's words were completely different from the leader's. He told Xiao Shi that he himself was the one with talent, not that talent possessed him. Therefore, he had to know how to use his talent and not let talent lead him. Ying Tao didn't expect her father to say such words. Her eyes looked at her father with admiration. Xiao Shi had rested for 2 weeks. During these 2 weeks, he had done what he wanted. However, the students at school were buzzing with discussions, wondering what choice Xiao Shi would make, whether he would really give up the direct admission opportunity. Xiao Man was also very worried about Xiao Shi, so she proactively asked Ying Tao when he would be able to go back to school. Whenever she had a chance, she would ask Ying Tao about Xiao Shi's situation. But Ying Tao replied that she didn't know for sure, that even if she cared, she only cared about whether Xiao Shi was happy, whether he had eaten, and didn't want to bring up unpleasant things for him. Xiao Shi cooked and brought food to his mother. He wanted to take this opportunity to confide in her. But no matter what he said, his mother ultimately couldn't empathize, let alone understand his choices and decisions. Xiao Shi's decision was unchangeable. He threw away everything related to the math Olympiad. He decided he would do what he truly liked. The next day, Xiao Shi returned to school brightly, and his classmates happily welcomed him. During math class, Xiao Shi secretly read an English book and was discovered by the teacher. The teacher was very angry and went to find the principal to complain. Coincidentally, their conversation was overheard by class president Feng. He accidentally revealed this to Ying Tao. He also wanted to know if Xiao Shi really intended to study abroad. Ying Tao was extremely angry when she saw Xiao Shi's appearance. If what they said was true, then Xiao Shi had deliberately hidden it from her. After school, Ying Tao didn't wait for Xiao Shi, but left angrily by herself. Seeing Ying Tao angry, Yi Yun chased after her to ask and found out that the reason was that Ying Tao had discovered the news that Xiao Shi was going to study abroad. Yi Yun understood that Ying Tao's feelings for Xiao Shi were not simple. If they were truly just friends, she would have reacted like Yi Yun, simply knowing a piece of news and not being so angry. Meanwhile, Yu Xiao and everyone else were with Xiao Shi. They kept calling Ying Tao, but she didn't pick up. No one in the group had angered her, so seeing Ying Tao so angry, no one understood what was happening. Afterwards, class president Feng came to apologize to Xiao Shi, and only then did everyone realize that he had accidentally told Ying Tao that Xiao Shi was going to study abroad, because he thought Ying Tao already knew. Afterwards, Ying Tao pretended that nothing had happened and agreed to go out for a late-night meal with Xiao Shi. She also invited Yu Xiao and a few other friends to come along. During the meal, Ying Tao openly showed her discomfort, ate a few bites, then got up to pay and left. Seeing this, Xiao Shi quickly chased after her. He told Ying Tao that he wanted to take her with him, and that he had planned this study abroad trip since he was in Kunshan. The two talked for a while and finally resolved the misunderstanding in their hearts. Ying Tao originally had no plans to study abroad. She felt that both of them had their own things they wanted to do, so they should focus on completing their own goals first. Xiao Shi told Ying Tao that they would have to be apart for a while, but it definitely wouldn't be too long. He hoped that Ying Tao would definitely come to find him, and he would be there to welcome her. Ying Tao talked to Yi Yun on the phone. Although she was still a little angry, after calming down, she thought that everyone had their own goals, so let everyone complete what they wanted to do first. During a meal with the whole group, Ying Tao suggested that everyone should go back to Kunshan for a trip, taking advantage of the break, and everyone agreed. Everyone was extremely excited to return to Kunshan. They went back to Kunshan Primary School, reliving their childhood memories together. The whole group grew up together, and the things that happened when they were little seemed to be still vivid in their minds. The next day, Xiao Shi called Ying Tao out of her house. He gave her a pair of red high heels and a lipstick. Ying Tao criticized him for spending money lavishly, but Xiao Shi explained that this was his prize money from the Olympiad competition, and it was his right to spend it however he wanted. The reason Xiao Shi gave Ying Tao these gifts was because he wanted to see her appearance when she grew up, because he might miss that moment. Ying Tao immediately put on the high heels for Xiao Shi to admire, and even asked him to help her put on lipstick. On the day Xiao Shi went to study abroad, Ying Tao went to the airport to see him off. Back home, she met Uncle Wang again. When she was little, she was very close to him, and later Uncle Wang went out to make a living, and now he has also built his own career, so he specially returned to visit her family. Sheng Wan had prepared a sumptuous meal at home. When he left, Uncle Wang was drunk. Ying Tao and Uncle Wang repeated the hand dance they used to do whenever they said goodbye when they were little. Uncle Wang told Ying Tao to study well in college, and if she needed his help, she must speak up. Since Xiao Shi went to Hong Kong, Ying Tao's and her friends' lives returned to peace. Everyone put all their effort into preparing for the college entrance exam. Other classmates occasionally contacted Xiao Shi, but rarely received a reply. On the contrary, he always kept in touch with Ying Tao. In fact, Ying Tao even found that Xiao Shi talked more than before. He constantly shared with her what he saw and heard in the new environment. Ying Tao never thought that she would lose contact with Xiao Shi. The highly anticipated college entrance exam finally arrived. After a long period of studying, the students entered the exam room, pouring all their 10 years of hard work into each page, and submitted their exams within the specified time. To celebrate the end of the exam, the parents specially arranged a sumptuous meal for the children at a restaurant. Everyone completely relaxed, gathered together happily, talking and laughing, filled with hope for the future. Ying Tao recounted these things in a message sent to Xiao Shi. Sure enough, he replied, wishing her good luck and success in getting into her desired university. Ying Tao happily called back, but only heard the familiar message on the other end. The subscriber you called is currently unreachable. After a long wait, the exam results were finally announced. Everyone got into their dream schools, and Ying Tao was also accepted into Northern Normal University. Qi Lu invited Ying Tao to go back to school to pack up. The two went into the classroom, saw that there were still some materials in Xiao Shi's desk, so Ying Tao helped him clean them up. Qi Lu confessed his feelings to Ying Tao, hoping their relationship could go further, but she politely refused. Qi Lu said that he had anticipated this, because Xiao Shi was too excellent. Ying Tao would never be able to forget him. Uncle Kai came to Ying Tao's house, watching stocks on the computer with her father. He said that Director Liang didn't know what problem he had encountered. The stock price had fallen so terribly, yet he still tried to sell. Ying Tao's father didn't understand, so Uncle Kai explained that with the current market situation, one day could result in losses equivalent to an Audi car. The two analyzed. It must be that something had happened to Xiao Shi's family. Otherwise, Mrs. Liang wouldn't be in such a hurry. Seeing Ying Tao return, they immediately changed the subject. Not receiving any news from Xiao Shi, Ying Tao was extremely anxious. She took Juju Buns to his house and knocked on the door. The old lady next door told her that Xiao Shi's family had moved. Ying Tao was greatly surprised to hear this, wondering what Xiao Shi would do when he returned if they did that. The old lady said the house hadn't been sold yet. Xiao Shi would definitely come back. From then on, whenever she had free time, Ying Tao would linger outside his house. She believed that Xiao Shi would definitely return. And sure enough, that evening, Ying Tao actually met Xiao Shi, the person she had missed day and night. Xiao Shi was wearing a black suit and a black baseball cap. Ying Tao saw that he looked as if he was doing something shady. However, the joy of reunion overshadowed her suspicion about his outfit. She asked why he was here. Xiao, she said he was no longer going to study abroad. He also knew that Ying Tao had been admitted to Northern Teacher Education University, so he planned to apply to a nearby university so that they could be together every day. Hearing his plan, Ying Tao had no doubts. With Xiao Shi's academic abilities, he could get into any university. At this moment, Ying Tao happily kissed Xiao Shi. He was stunned for a moment, but then passionately reciprocated, then casually took off the amber necklace from her neck. Xiao Shi told Ying Tao that he was craving the juju buns made by her mother. Ying Tao happily led him back to her house. When they got downstairs, Xiao Shi said he forgot to bring his suitcase, telling Ying Tao to go up first, and he would be right there. Ying Tao didn't suspect anything, immediately ran upstairs to reheat the juju buns. However, after waiting for a long time and not seeing Xiao Shi come up, Ying Tao began to get anxious. She called him, but found his phone was off. Ying Tao quickly ran downstairs to look, but the downstairs was empty, not a soul. She hurried to the gate, and the security guard told her that a boy dressed all in black, dragging a suitcase, had just taken a taxi and left. Hearing this, Ying Tao burst into tears. Her parents heard the news and rushed out to comfort her, taking her back home. In 2008, a global economic crisis occurred. Several parents gathered at Ying Tao's house, talking excitedly about this matter. Their children had just been admitted to university, and they unexpectedly encountered such an economic situation. Meanwhile, the mothers were in the kitchen cooking delicious food for everyone. Their children were all very talented and ambitious, and Ying Tao had the highest exam score. Yu Xiao was admitted to Northern Aeronautical University as he wished. Fang Yuan's website was not only doing very well, but he himself was also admitted to a university in Shanghai. Du Shang got into medical school. Only Yi Yun, out of concern for her father, chose to attend a local university. Today, they gathered to eat and also to hold a farewell party for their children who were about to go to college. Seeing Ying Tao sad and dejected, everyone sensitively comforted her. The parents spoke one after another, and in every word were heartfelt instructions and sincere blessings for their children. That evening, Yi Yun and Ying Tao hid in their room, whispering. Yi Yun thought Xiao Shi was very mean. He deliberately gave Ying Tao lipstick and high heels, which were symbols of women, proving that in Xiao Shi's heart, he already considered Ying Tao a real woman. Now he had disappeared without a trace. What would Ying Tao do? Ying Tao felt that she would not be able to like anyone else. Yi Yun then suggested that she go with Yu Xiao, which startled Ying Tao. She knew Yi Yun's feelings for Yu Xiao. How could she do such a thing? Yian sadly confided that Yu Xiao would definitely look very handsome in an Air Force uniform, and many girls would definitely like him. Ying Tao couldn't help but laugh when she heard this, and the two began to joke with each other. On the day of the opening ceremony, Ying Tao didn't let her parents take her and went to Northern Teacher Education University alone to complete the enrollment procedures. She was assigned to a female dormitory. As she carried her luggage in, she saw that the room was pitch black, and 3 girls were sleeping even though it was still daytime. Knowing that she was a freshman coming to enroll, they slowly got up to tidy up the room. It turned out that they had drunk too much the night before. After settling in, Ying Tao called her parents to tell them she was safe. Knowing that she was sharing a room with some senior girls, her mother was a little uneasy, worried that Ying Tao would be bullied. Ying Tao told her mother not to worry. She was no longer a child. The freshman military training began. The coach was especially strict, but the pampered girls also had their own strategies. They pretended to be sick to escape the hot training ground. Only Ying Tao persevered until the end, and was even praised by the coach by name. After military training, Ying Tao returned to the dormitory. When she reached the door, she heard the older girls talking inside, saying that they didn't want a roommate like that. Ying Tao thought they were talking about her, so she turned around and went downstairs, waiting until all the lights in the room were off before returning. But the older girls were still awake and instead suggested telling ghost stories. The story was about a haunted room at the very end of the east wing of the dormitory building, right next to their room. But Ying Tao, far from being scared, told them another ghost story. Unexpectedly, these 3 older girls were scared out of their wits. In the middle of the night, one of the older girls woke Ying Tao up, asking her to accompany her to the restroom. After returning, the older girl said that Ying Tao's story was too scary and invited Ying Tao to sleep with her. The other 2 older girls also woke up, and everyone teased them for sleeping in the same bed. Ying Tao then spoke directly, asking if they didn't welcome her to live there. She had heard everything they said outside the door, which was why she waited until everyone was asleep before returning, and yet they still told ghost stories, clearly wanting to scare her away. The older girls realized after hearing this that the misunderstanding had gone a bit too far. It turned out that their intention was that on Ying Tao's first day, she had encountered 3 drunk ghosts in the room, so her initial impression must not be good, and she wouldn't like roommates like them. That's why they thought of ways to change Ying Tao's impression. She was young, so first they would tell a ghost story to scare her a little, then one of the older girls would sleep in the same bed to comfort her, so that their relationship would become closer. Who knew Ying Tao would tell an even scarier story than theirs? After clarifying everything, the misunderstanding was resolved. The lively and adorable Ying Tao immediately became the darling in the hearts of the older girls. Senior sister CC and her boyfriend broke up during graduation season. The reason was that she wanted to stay in the city to take the civil service exam, while her boyfriend wanted her to follow him back to his hometown in Anhui to start a career. After refusing her boyfriend, CC returned to the dormitory, crying uncontrollably. Ying Tao felt very sad seeing this, while Li Jun acted indifferent, as if nothing was unusual, thinking that it was a relief for both of them. While taking a shower, Ying Tao asked Li Jun if she liked anyone. The senior sister frankly admitted that she did, and then talked about her feelings for that person. Ying Tao was deeply moved after hearing it, because she also had similar feelings for Qiao Shi. It wasn't until senior sister Li Jun said that the person was a star, 15 years older than her, and already had 2 children, that Ying Tao realized that the person the senior sister liked was not a real man. Ying Tao went to the library to read a book, but the book she had just chosen disappeared in the blink of an eye. Feeling like someone was watching her, she quickly searched around the bookshelves until Yu Xiao, a tall, handsome young man in a uniform, appeared in front of her, and Ying Tao understood everything. Yu Xiao's Aeronautical Academy was right next to Northern Teacher Education University, where Ying Tao studied. Today, he specially made time to visit her. The 2 close friends chatted about old times and old people, and Xiao Shi was a topic that couldn't be avoided. Seeing Ying Tao still dejected, Yu Xiao promised to ask his father to find Aunt Liang's phone number, and then she could call her to ask for news about Qiao Shi. While seeing Yu Xiao off, Ying Tao accidentally met senior sister Li Jun. The senior sister insisted that Yu Xiao was Ying Tao's boyfriend and immediately dragged her back for the other senior sisters to question. Ying Tao had to explain many times that she and Yu Xiao were just close friends since childhood, and her real boyfriend was someone else. After that, she told the 3 senior sisters the story between her and Qiao Shi. Hearing about Qiao Shi's sudden disappearance, the senior sisters all thought that Ying Tao's love story was more bad than good. His actions clearly showed that he didn't want her to find him. However, Ying Tao still clearly remembered Qiao Shi's words when he left. He told her not to forget him. Therefore, Ying Tao was determined to find him no matter where he was, and she had started saving money for that purpose. The senior sisters were about to graduate, and everyone had a farewell party together. Ying Tao suddenly received a message from Yu Xiao with Qiao Shi's mother's phone number. She immediately found a secluded corner to make a call, but his mother still maintained a cold and distant tone. She refused to give her Xiao Shi's number, saying that if she contacted him, they would not be able to face each other. Moreover, Xiao Shi wasn't answering her calls either. She advised Ying Tao to enjoy her university life and not try to contact Xiao Shi anymore. Senior sister Li Jun and Fang Chuang were both drunk, so Ying Tao confided in senior sister Cici, saying that she didn't know if she could persevere anymore. Senior sister Cici then gave Xian Xian, a primary school student she was tutoring, Ying Tao's phone number and said that from now on, she would be the boy's teacher. Ying Tao was very surprised by this action of the senior sister. Cici then told her a story about a rabbit to encourage her to persevere with her dream, and letting her teach was also to support her in earning more money to find Xiao Shi. When tutoring Xian Xian, Ying Tao found that the boy's situation was very similar to Xiao Shi's. His parents always only cared about Xian Xian's younger brother, putting all their efforts into getting him to participate in violin competitions, which made Xian Xian always feel neglected. Ying Tao patiently reasoned with the boy, even using Xiao Shi as an example. The knot in Xian Xian's heart gradually unraveled, and the boy was able to calm down and focus on his studies. Yi Yin called Yu Xiao, telling him to look at a photo. It was a photo of Xiao Shi taken in Hong Kong. But Yi Yin reminded him that this matter absolutely must not be told to Ying Tao. Otherwise, with her personality, she would immediately buy a plane ticket to go there. Yi Yin came to visit Ying Tao. The two happily hugged each other and looked at each other for a long time, because both noticed that the other had become more beautiful than before. Ying Tao asked Yi Yin why she came this time, and Yi Yin revealed that she came to pick up goods for her online store and also to visit her. Ying Tao then led Yi Yin to the school cafeteria. With her beautiful appearance and trendy style, Yi Yin immediately attracted everyone's attention, but she complained that all the boys at her friend's school were sloppy and none of them caught her eye. Ying Tao offered to let Yi Yin stay in her dormitory, as her senior sister's friends had also stayed there before. But Yi Yin said that she had booked a room at a small guest house next to the school and arranged to chat with Ying Tao after school. Afterwards, Ying Tao went with Yi Yin to pick up goods, Yi Yin putting Tao's school bag into her large bag, explaining that doing so would make it easier to bargain. She also told Ying Tao that when she was bargaining later, Ying Tao should pretend to pull her away so the owner wouldn't be able to overcharge them. The two discussed everything and then went into the wholesale market. After some bargaining, Yi Yin bought a large bag of goods as she wished. Ying Tao suggested calling Yu Xiao out so the three of them could eat a meal together, but Yi Yin refused. She said that she already had a boyfriend and advised Ying Tao and Yu Xiao to develop their feelings. Ying Tao was extremely surprised to hear this, not expecting that Yi Yin hadn't told her about such an important matter. Yi Yin just calmly replied that it was nothing big, just having another person of the opposite sex by her side. Just then, Yu Xiao texted, wanting to meet Ying Tao. Yi Yin absolutely didn't want Yu Xiao to know she had come, so Ying Tao had to go meet Yu Xiao first and then come back later. Yu Xiao bought Ying Tao a rabbit-shaped cake and then asked her how much money she had saved from tutoring, which made Ying Tao feel that he was a bit strange today. While waiting, Yin also thought the rabbit-shaped cake in the bakery next door was very cute, so she bought one for Ying Tao. That night, Ying Tao and Yi Yin sat chatting on the guest house rooftop. Looking at the two identical rabbit-shaped cakes, Ying Tao unconsciously sighed that she and Yu Xiao truly had a telepathic connection. Seeing that Ying Tao was still immersed in her obsession with Xiao Shi, Yi Yin advised her friend to move on from the past. She thought that someone who disappeared from Ying Tao's life without a word of goodbye like Xiao Shi was extremely selfish. Yi Yin once again advised Ying Tao to be with Yu Xiao, because ever since she met Xiao Shi, Ying Tao had learned to sigh. She couldn't continue like that anymore. But Ying Tao couldn't forget Xiao Shi's last appearance. She felt that the pain he had to endure must be much greater than hers, so she had to find him to ask clearly why he left without saying goodbye. The next day, the two said goodbye to each other. Yi Yin insisted that Ying Tao not see her off. But after Ying Tao left, she went to Yu Zhao's school alone and accidentally met his roommate. Seeing Yi Yin sitting alone by the basketball court, the kind friend asked her if she needed any help. Yi Yin said she just came to admire the person she liked. The friend told her to just say the name, and he would help her find him, but Yi Yin refused. She seemed to be talking to herself. The person she liked her best friend, and her best friend liked someone else. Because she wanted her best friend to be with the person she liked, she lied that she had a boyfriend. The roommate was also confused after hearing this, but still understood that Yi Yin was sacrificing her happiness to help her best friend. Yi Yin said goodbye and left, leaving the friend thinking that this girl was truly beautiful and kind. Meanwhile, Yu Xiao was in the dormitory chatting with the girl in Hong Kong. Ever since he learned that Xiao Shi was tutoring that girl, Yu Xiao had kept in touch. He flew to Hong Kong, and after meeting in person, he showed her all his ID to prove that he was not a bad person. Finally, the girl gave him Xiao Shi's address. Yu Xiao went to his place. finding the room extremely messy. He knocked on the door for a long time, but no one opened it. He was about to leave when he heard people talking on the rooftop. So he went up. He saw Xiao Shi, whom he hadn't seen for a long time, playing cards with some other young people. Yu Xiao walked straight over and sat down, and the others quietly retreated. Yu Xiao asked why he had left so silently. Didn't he know that Ying Tao had always missed him? Xiao Shi replied that with his current appearance, how could he contact Ying Tao? Yu Xiao loudly shouted if he didn't come back now, would he wait 10 or 20 years? By then, Ying Tao would be married and have children. Xiao Shi was heartbroken and speechless. Yu Xiao picked up his backpack. He had come to visit this time, and seeing that Xiao Shi was fine, he was relieved, and when he returned, he would tell Ying Tao that he liked her. Although his heart was breaking, Xiao Shi showed no emotion, only thanking Yu Xiao for visiting him. While reading in a library, Ying Tao was teased by senior sister Li Jun about not going out to eat with the handsome guy from the aviation department this weekend. Ying Tao replied that it wasn't necessary to always go together. It was better for everyone to have their own lives. Li Jun then warned her that if she didn't take the initiative, this spare tire will be taken by someone else. Ying Tao just smiled, thinking that the senior sister spoke very sharply. Just then, Yu Xiao called to meet up. Ying Tao rushed out, seeing Yu Xiao with a tired expression lying on a chair. She asked if he had been up all night. Yu Xiao told her to buy him a bottle of water and insisted that she use his wallet. Ying Tao had no choice but to take his wallet to the convenience store. Yu Xiao sat up, revealing that he had found Xiao Shi. Hearing this, Ying Tao immediately ran out of the counter. Yu Xiao walked and read Xiao Shi's address in Hong Kong to Ying Tao, then said that he was about to go to Canada for academic exchange and would no longer have time to eat with her. Ying Tao quickly chased after him to return his wallet, but Yu Xiao said that the money inside could be considered as a sponsorship for her plane ticket. Ying Tao was firm. She refused. She didn't want to owe anyone favors. Yu Xiao stopped, feeling that the worst thing he had done in his life was, after knowing Xiao Shi's news, not telling her immediately. Ying Tao was deeply moved after hearing this. She sincerely thanked Yu Xiao and promised that when she went to Hong Kong, she would buy him the sunglasses he liked. After Yu Xiao left, Xiao Shi went to the hospital to take care of his paralyzed cousin. Recalling Yu Xiao's words, he couldn't hold back his tears. His cousin's wife brought food, and seeing how diligently she had cared for her husband for years, Xiao Shi greatly admired her perseverance. As for Ying Tao, she hurriedly completed the procedures and packed her luggage. Senior sister Li Jun thought she was bringing trouble upon herself. What kind of girl would go looking for a bull like that? But Ying Tao explained that she already knew his address in Hong Kong, and if she didn't go now and Xiao Shi moved somewhere else, it would be even harder for her to find him. Ying Tao pulled her luggage out of the school. The senior sisters warned her about everything, worried that a girl who was new to Hong Kong would not be safe, and told her to call home immediately if anything happened. Based on the address Yu Xiao gave her, Ying Tao took a long time to find the apartment building that Xiao Shi rented. But because she didn't speak Cantonese, the old gatekeeper insisted on not letting her in. Helpless, she just sat in a corner to wait. Late at night, the landlord, Brother Jean, returned, and seeing Ying Tao asleep on her suitcase, he woke her up. Seeing Ying Tao very surprised, Brother Jean laughed and told her to come in. He would talk to her. He asked if she had come to find someone. Ying Tao quickly said Xiao Shi's name. Brother Jean then led her to his room, also saying that he had met Ying Tao before. Ying Tao was confused. Stepping into Xiao Shi's small, dark room, Ying Tao was stunned to see the walls covered with her photos and the amber necklace hanging right next to the desk lamp. When Xiao Shi returned, Brother Jean vaguely revealed that his bright moon had found him. Xiao Shi thought he had watched too much romantic drama over 180 minutes. But when he opened the door and saw Ying Tao, he immediately turned around and went outside, blaming Brother Jean for letting a stranger into his room without permission. When he returned to the room, Ying Tao looked at the haggard young man in front of her, heartbroken, asking if he was really Xiao Shi. Xiao Shi said nothing, only telling her that he would sleep at Brother Jin's house tonight, and tomorrow he would show her around Hong Kong, and then take her back. Ying Tao firmly said that she wouldn't go anywhere. Xiao Shi heartlessly said that he already had a new life. Ying Tao pointed at the wall full of her photos, wanting him to explain. She didn't understand why he had to keep himself locked in a shell, tormenting himself like that. Meeting Xiao Shi, whom she had longed for day and night, Ying Tao was both overjoyed and annoyed that he always decided everything himself, bearing everything alone. Xiao Shi remorsefully asked if Ying Tao was very disappointed to see his deteriorated appearance at that moment. Ying Tao looked closely at Xiao Shi, seeing that he was only darker and thinner than before, but seeing that he had a place to eat and live and someone to talk to for her, it was already the best outcome. Because in countless scenarios she had imagined, Xiao Shi was either killed by someone or had encountered some terrifying accident. However, Xiao Shi still didn't want to face Ying Tao. He stood up picked up his coat, and left, not stopping even when Ing Tao called him. When he went out, Xiao Shi asked Brother Jean, who was drinking beer on the rooftop, to buy some shrimp dumplings downstairs for Ing Tao's breakfast tomorrow morning, while he had to go to the construction site to work overtime. Brother Jean felt that Xiao Shi had a mental problem, his girlfriend came to visit, and he still worked his ass off like that. That evening, Ing Tao lay on Xiao Shi's bed and couldn't sleep peacefully. She didn't expect the air conditioner in Hong Kong to be so cold. She fumbled around for a while, but couldn't adjust the temperature to increase, so she had to wrap herself tightly in the blanket. The next morning, she felt a heavy head and her legs felt like they were walking on clouds. Brother Jean brought her breakfast and enthusiastically offered to help her book a hotel, but Ing Tao firmly said that she would not leave. Even though Xiao Shi was not at home, he would still have to come back for his documents and luggage. Brother Jean reassured her that Xiao Shi only went to the construction site to work. He wouldn't leave, because if he wanted to leave, he would have left a long time ago. Brother Jean suddenly told Ing Tao that if she wanted, he could take her to see Xiao Shi. Hearing this, Ing Tao quickly ate her breakfast and got into Brother Jean's car to find him. On the way, Brother Jean said that Xiao Shi was currently studying at Hong Kong University and also working at the construction site. Students like him were very welcomed by the construction site, earning 50 or 60,000 per month. Ing Tao was greatly surprised to learn that he could earn so much money. Brother Jean also added that that wasn't all. Xiao Shi also worked as a tutor, but this job was quite troublesome because he had to go back to Shenzhen every day. Because Xiao Shi was very smart and had helped him earn a lot of money, Brother Jean had rented him the largest room at the cheapest price. After hearing this, Ing Tao was very surprised. Why did Xiao Shi have to work so hard to earn money? But Brother Jean hesitated, only telling her to ask Xiao Shi herself when they met. At the construction site, Ing Tao saw Xiao Shi eating with other workers and called out his name loudly. Seeing Ing Tao come all the way here, Xiao Shi immediately tried to hide. Ing Tao chased him until she was out of breath and then suddenly fell to the ground. At this point, Xiao Shi turned around and carried her. He took Ing Tao to the clinic for a checkup. The doctor said that Ing Tao hadn't had time to adapt to the weather in Hong Kong, and the sudden change in temperature caused her to suffer from heat stroke. Lying on the hospital bed, Ing Tao had a dream, dreaming of herself and Xiao Shi in their childhood. When she opened her eyes, she realized that the Xiao Shi in front of her had grown so much. Xiao Shi gently said that both of them had grown up. Back at their place, Xiao Shi awkwardly told Ing Tao that the air conditioner was broken. Ing Tao said she wanted to take a shower. Xiao Shi quickly ran to the public bathroom to clean it up. The bathroom door was broken, so he squatted outside to guard the door for her. Ing Tao turned on the faucet, and tears of sadness flowed out, not knowing whether she was crying for herself or for Xiao Shi. When Xiao Shi finished showering and returned, Ing Tao looked at him, still the appearance of that clean, bright high school boy from back then. Xiao Shi only said that he had gotten a little tanned. Ing Tao looked him straight in the face, seriously asking him to tell her everything that had happened in the past 2 years. Ing Tao wanted to know what Xiao Shi had gone through in those years, but he didn't know where to start. Ing Tao then broke the silence, telling Xiao Shi to come over and lie down on the bed. Xiao Shi hesitated a little, but still obediently walked over, timidly lying down on the edge of the bed. Ing Tao recounted that he wasn't there last night. She didn't dare to sleep. Now she wanted to catch up on sleep, telling him not to leave. Waking up, Ing Tao opened her eyes and saw Xiao Shi's handsome face right in front of her. She took his hand, caressing the calluses and asking if it hurt when he first started. Xiao Shi's tears fell. He told Ing Tao not to bother him. Let him dream a little longer. Ing Tao told him that this wasn't a dream. Xiao Shi slowly opened his eyes. Seeing Ing Tao, he immediately sat up. Looking at the boy she had longed for day and night was right next to her. Ing Tao took his hand and placed it on her heart. 2 years ago, you told me not to forget you, so now you have no reason to reject me. You were the one who brought me home. Xiao Shi really wanted to kiss Ing Tao, but he still suppressed his emotions, saying that Ing Tao should leave because this wasn't a home, it was just a rented place. Ing Tao didn't think so. Wherever the heart feels peaceful, that place is home. However, after a moment of hesitation, Xiao Shi still suddenly stood up and left. Ing Tao cried sadly for a while, then decided to go find Xiao Shi. This time he didn't go far, just squatting on the stairs, his head in his hands, looking distressed. Ing Tao went to his side to comfort him, saying that he didn't need to feel pathetic. The person she liked wasn't a Xiao Shi who was always surrounded by an aura of excellence. Whether he was ordinary or outstanding, she liked him, and he didn't need to force himself to be falsely burdened in front of her anymore. But Xiao Shi still couldn't shake off the burden in his heart. He thought for a moment, and then told Ing Tao, give him some more time, wait for him to come find her. Ing Tao was furious when she heard this. She was also a young girl in her prime, and didn't want a vague, unclear boyfriend who didn't answer her calls or reply to her messages. She questioned Xiao Shi how long she had to wait, Would she have to remember him even when she married someone else? Seeing Xiao Shi not react, Ying Tao angrily decided that she didn't like him anymore. She would go back to Hingyang. Saying that, Ying Tao returned to the room and hurriedly packed her luggage, pulling her suitcase past Xiao Shi. He hesitated, but didn't have the courage to hold her back. Ying Tao went to the side of the road, hailed a taxi, and got straight in. At this point, Xiao Shi panicked. He hurriedly chased after, repeatedly shouting for Ying Tao not to leave. Seeing the taxi drive away, getting further and further away, Xiao Shi turned around in despair, dejectedly collapsing against the railing. Suddenly, Ying Tao's voice rang out from behind. Xiao Shi immediately turned his head, seeing Ying Tao standing on the other side of the road. It turned out that Ying Tao had seen him chasing after the taxi. Xiao Shi was extremely moved. He rushed to Ying Tao's side, but she made him explain why he had chased after her. Xiao Shi was so moved that he spoke incoherently. He admitted that he didn't want Ying Tao to love and marry someone else. Ying Tao told him to say it clearly. Confess your feelings to her seriously. Xiao Shi finally stopped beating around the bush. He hoped Ying Tao wouldn't leave him. Please be his girlfriend. Hearing this, a sweet smile bloomed on Ying Tao's face. The two young people finally embraced tightly. Ying Tao suggested that they wander around Hong Kong at night together, dating like real couples. So Xiao Shi took her on a bus to watch the sunrise and told Ying Tao his entire story over the past few years. The subprime mortgage crisis of 2008 can be said to have greatly affected Xiao Shi. That year, his parents started arguing for divorce because of stock market losses, and they had no mind to care for him at all. He went to Hong Kong to find his cousin, because his cousin Ru Chung had prepared a sum of money for him to study abroad. However, his cousin also worked in the financial industry, so he suffered heavy losses in this crisis. Even though he had old and young to care for, the cousin resolutely refused to touch Xiao Shi's study abroad money. While eating together, he was still full of confidence, reminding Xiao Shi that as long as he tried until he graduated from university, everything would be all right again. A subordinate of his cousin came, agitatedly causing a commotion and demanding why he was fired. The cousin quickly pulled that person aside to explain, but was pushed downstairs by him. Because he didn't have health insurance, the cousin had to spend a lot of money at the hospital to keep his life. Xiao Shi's study abroad trip was therefore unable to be realized. He had to work everywhere to scrape together money for his cousin's hospital expenses. The first thing his cousin did after waking up was to find a close friend from the past, asking that person to go to Hong Kong University to help. Finally, seeing that Xiao Shi's academic performance was too outstanding, the school agreed to let him enroll a year late. Hearing Xiao Shi recount his experiences over the past 2 years, Ying Tao was extremely heartbroken. He should have told her everything sooner, then she could have faced everything with him, instead of letting him fight alone. Xiao Shi suddenly received a call from his cousin's wife, informing him that his cousin had disappeared. He and Ying Tao hurriedly went to look for him and found that his cousin had run home alone. Their large house was no more. The whole family had to squeeze into a cramped pigeon coop apartment. The cousin felt extremely regretful for becoming a burden to his family. His wife and he hugged each other and cried. In her heart, he had never been a burden. On the contrary, his recovering day by day was the greatest hope of the whole family. Ying Tao officially went to the hospital to visit his cousin. He told her that although it was the first time meeting her, he had known her for a long time because Xiao Shi mentioned her all the time. A former colleague who used to work under Ru Chang came to visit. His mouth was always expressing gratitude for Ru Chang's help in the past, but as soon as he turned around to make a phone call, he uttered sarcastic and malicious words. Xiao Shi accidentally overheard the content of the phone call. Unable to control his anger, he rushed to beat the guy up. Ying Tao and his cousin's wife quickly pulled him away. The cousin's wife stepped in front of the guy, slapped him in the face, and angrily told that ingrate to get lost. Witnessing that scene, Ying Tao felt that his cousin's wife looked extremely cool, just like a female knight. Afterwards, his cousin's wife took Ying Tao and Xiao Shi to a luxurious hotel for a welcome feast. Xiao Shi thought it wasn't necessary to spend so much, but Ying Tao understood his cousin's wife's intention. She was using this method to reassure them, so that they wouldn't forget the good old days. His cousin's wife also said that his cousin still had a prepaid card here. When paying, Xiao Shi found that his cousin's card had been locked, and he didn't have enough cash with him. Seeing this, Ying Tao took out her card to pay. His cousin's wife's heart was filled with mixed feelings. She told the two to wait for her and then ran to the lottery ticket stall by the roadside, bought 3 Mark 6 lottery tickets, and gave them to Ying Tao to choose one. Xiao Shi didn't care much, because according to probability calculations, the chance of winning was less than 1 in tens of millions. But Ying Tao didn't want to disappoint his cousin's wife. She happily took the ticket home, just as his cousin's wife said, to buy herself a hope. When it was time for the lottery, Xiao Shi unexpectedly found that Ying Tao had actually won the 4th prize. Ying Tao was both happy and surprised. She decided to use this money to buy Yu Xiao a new pair of glasses. Ying Tao and Xiao, she went together to buy glasses for Yu Xiao. Xiao, she helped her try on glasses, but every frame he wore looked handsome, making Ying Tao not know what to choose. Xiao, she suggested that he just buy glasses for Yu Xiao, because Yu Xiao had come and told him a lot of things last time, and he was really grateful to him. Ying Tao criticized him for being too polite, but she was also very grateful to Yu Xiao. If it weren't for him, finding Xiao, she wouldn't have been so easy. She asked Xiao what he wanted to buy. She still had a lot of money left and wanted to buy him a gift. What Xiao she wanted greatly surprised Ying Tao, because he wanted a set of pots and pans. In the years of being apart from Ying Tao, he had imagined more than once cooking a delicious meal for her himself. Those recipes were deeply engraved in his mind, as familiar as mathematical formulas. The two went to the supermarket to shop. Although this was the first time, in Xiaoxi's mind, this scene had appeared many times. When they arrived in front of a stall, Ying Tao thought he wanted to buy cigarettes, so she generously agreed. Unexpectedly, Xiaoxi asked her back in surprise if she was serious. It wasn't until Ying Tao saw the 3 Wolves cigarettes on the counter that her face turned red with embarrassment. The two used the remaining money to buy green plants and health supplements for his cousin's family, and also the type of wine that his cousin's wife liked. On the way home, Xiaoxi suddenly asked Ying Tao if she would agree to let him return to Hingyang to study at university. Ying Tao asked him what he had been thinking, and Xiaoxi said that he hadn't forgotten the knowledge from before. He believed that if he took the college entrance exam again, he would definitely pass. Ying Tao had done too much for him. He didn't want the two of them to have a long-distance relationship anymore. Arriving at his cousin's house, his cousin's wife had cooked a table full of delicious dishes. The whole family gathered together to eat happily. His cousin told everyone that he was about to be discharged from the hospital. The debts from before, if he could personally come forward, he would definitely be able to recover a lot. Therefore, it could be considered that the family had overcome the most difficult period. He told Xiao to quit all the part-time jobs and think carefully about his future. At this moment, Xiaoxi suggested that he wanted to return to Hingyang to study. His cousin heard this and was anxious. Although feelings were very important, people had to have the ability to cultivate those feelings. Xiaoxi replied that he would seriously consider this matter. Returning to the rented apartment, Xiaoxi started cooking dinner for Ying Tao. Ying Tao was also busy helping him. Brother Jean passed by, seeing the two cooperating smoothly and teasing that it was truly the husband sings, the wife follows. Ying Tao invited Brother Jean to eat with them. Brother Jean brought a bottle of expensive whiskey that he had kept for many years, and after tasting a bite of the food, he turned to scold Xiaoxi lovingly. He had known him for so many days, and he hadn't cooked him a meal. Ying Tao asked Brother Jean to tell her about Xiaoxi when he first arrived. Brother Jean said that the first time he met Xiaoxi, he saw him watching the movie Titanic and crying. At that time, he had felt sorry for this boy, so he unconsciously helped him. Thinking back now, Xiaoxi must have been thinking of himself and Ying Tao at that time. Brother Jean urged the two, now that they had met, they had to cherish each other. In the evening, lying in bed, both of them were very moved. Ying Tao called Xiaoxi's name countless times. Xiaoxi expressed that it was at the moment Ying Tao called his name that he realized he was Xiaoxi and not the shadow of his brother. He thanked Ying Tao because in his life, she had always been like a small sun, warming and illuminating him. The two looked at each other passionately, unconsciously embraced tightly, and finally belonged to each other completely. In the middle of the night, Ying Tao woke up and couldn't fall back asleep. She called and told Yi Yun about her situation. Yi Yun was both expectant and worried after hearing it. Ying Tao told her that she must find the person she loved, then there would be nothing to fear. The next day, Ying Tao insisted that Xiaoxi not see her off to the airport. She was afraid that she couldn't bear that atmosphere of separation. The two hugged each other tightly, reluctantly saying goodbye with 1,000 reluctance. Xiaoxi promised Ying Tao that, whether he returned to Hingyang or stayed at Hong Kong University, he would take the time to come see her as soon as possible. Ying Tao returned to school and continued her studies. Her dream was to become a teacher, teaching and guiding young children to grow up. She called Yu Xiao, conveying Xiaoxi's thanks and promising to bring him the glasses. Yu Xiao's mood was a bit complicated. He made the excuse that he was busy studying for the exam and told Xiaoxi to come and thank him personally sometime. Ying Tao and Xiaoxi began a series of sweet interactions. The senior sisters in the dormitory finally got to see a handsome Xiaoxi through a video call. Yi Yun's online store was doing well, and Uncle Qin had become her regular customer service representative. One day, Uncle Qin and Aunt Song Yin saw a photo of Ying Tao and Xiaoxi together in a conversation with Yi Yun. They sent their sincere blessings to the two young people who had gone through so much hardship to finally be together. Aunt Song Yin asked Yi Yun what she planned to do about her love life. Yi Yun replied that she didn't want to think about love for the time being. She wanted to earn money to buy a car so that she could take all her relatives and friends out to play in the future. And of course, the car could also carry Yu Xiao. That day, Ying Tao was preparing materials for her graduation internship. She planned to share them with Xiao Shi as usual, but unexpectedly found that he was not online. This was the first time this had happened since they had reconnected. Ying Tao was a little confused, fearing that Xiao Shi would play the disappearing act again. She quickly grabbed her phone and called him. Luckily, Xiao Shi quickly answered. He explained that he had just been busy with something else. He asked Ying Tao what she wanted to see the most, and Ying Tao replied without thinking that what she wanted to see most was, of course, the handsome Xiao Shi. Xiao Shi then told her to look down from the balcony. Hearing this, Ying Tao couldn't suppress the excitement in her heart. She rushed to the balcony, and indeed, the Xiao Shi had longed for day and night was standing downstairs. It turned out that Xiao Shi had completed his studies at Hong Kong University in the shortest possible time and immediately applied to a financial company in Hengyang. Returning this time, he wouldn't go anywhere anymore. Hearing this, Ying Tao was overjoyed. Afterwards, the two moved into a new house and started their own sweet world. Ying Tao was now a primary school teacher, and with her special patience and innocence, she was very loved by her students. And Xiao Shi still took care of her as always. No matter how busy he was, he still insisted on making a loving breakfast for Ying Tao. That day was the day they planned to go see the wedding venue. But Xiao Shi received a call from the company and hurriedly changed clothes and left. He explained that the economic situation had been quite active recently, and the investment company he worked for had identified several good projects, and they all needed him to go and negotiate. Yi Yin went to see the venue with Ying Tao. She reminded her friend, would Xiao Shi change his mind? Ying Tao wasn't worried about this at all, because no matter how late Xiao Shi slept, he would still wake up to make breakfast for her every morning. Yi Yin jokingly said if he came home late, was he cooking dinner for someone else? Ying Tao ran over to Chase and hit Yi Yin when she heard this. Xiao Shi welcomed his old classmate Lin Gu. Their project was about online games. Xiao Shi reminded his friend to pay attention to the issues in the contract, but Lin Gu ignored the terms. Xiao Shi's boss valued this project very much, but deliberately inserted vague terms into the contract, planning to take all the profits after the project succeeded. Xiao Shi gave his opinion, but the boss didn't care, thinking that he was still too young. Xiao Shi returned home, seeing that Ying Tao had an unhappy expression but didn't understand why. Immediately afterwards, the flower shop delivered the bouquet he had ordered, and he also took out the engagement ring he had prepared. But Ying Tao was still not happy, and finally she had to remind him. At this time, Xiao Shi realized that he had forgotten that today was the day to see the wedding venue. The news reported on an accident involving the airline where Yu Xiao worked. The flight piloted by Yu Xiao himself had collided with birds. Yi Yin was shocked when she saw the news, but Yu Xiao safely returned to Hengyang and gathered with his close friends for a meal. Yi Yin was still not over it. She walked around Yu Xiao several times until she was sure that he was completely unharmed before she felt at ease. At Xiao Shi's suggestion, everyone went to the outskirts to set off fireworks together. Yu Xiao returned to Xiao Shi the letter that Ying Tao had written to him, which he had kept for many years. Yi Yin went to find Yu Xiao. She felt that she had to express her feelings, otherwise, if another accident happened, she would regret it. Yu Xiao understood what she meant and said that, in the future, even if he was in the sky, he would pay attention to see if he could see her. Xiao Shi's parents were now divorced, and both lived abroad, and he didn't contact them much. Ying Tao and Xiao Shi returned to her parents' house. Xiao Shi solemnly offered tea and officially changed the way he addressed Ying Tao's parents. Her mother even said that Xiao Shi's mother had once come to their house to learn how to make juju buns. During a time when the stock market was in danger of collapsing, Xiao Shi drew on the experience of his father and cousin, sold all his stocks, and also resigned from that financial company, perfectly avoiding this crisis. After a period of preparation, the momentous wedding of the two was about to take place. Ying Tao, in her pure white wedding dress, ran towards her handsome groom. The two embraced tightly in happiness. The movie ends here. Thank you for watching. If you liked it, please give me a like. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and press the bell to wait for the latest movies.